Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
And then there were two. Daytona, Atlanta, Richmond, Charlotte, Pocono, Indianapolis, Darlington, Bristol, Talladega, the Roval, Martinsville. They all lead to this moment, here, now, at the virtual Kentucky Speedway. While this 1.5-mile speedway doesn't wrap around a KFC parking lot, it does lie ahead as the final hill for this set of drivers to climb. A hill that feels like a mountain if you're Travis Miller. A 4-point gap has never felt so insurmountable for the driver of the number 22 BRP iRacing Series Ford Mustang, yet it's never felt like such a slim cushion to Justin Winters and his number 88 Allen's Body Shop Chevrolet team. 267 laps, 400 miles stand ahead for these two to decide who will walk away the Bluegrass iRacing Series champion on this, the 21st evening of October 2020. Welcome, race fans, to PitStop TV. As usual, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter tonight. I've got Noah Carmichael and Joe Donahue who will join me on the call this evening. Trey Shuttlesworth is on social media coverage. I am Andrew Cardinale IV, and this is PitStop TV's live coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. We join you tonight from the virtual Sparta, Kentucky for the Bluegrass season finale. And boys, this properly is a Bluegrass season finale, visiting the Bluegrass state. Of course, this is how they planned it up. These Kentuckians behind this Bluegrass iRacing Series, 400 miles at their home track, and it's all going to come down to the 88 and the 22. These guys have been practicing for just about 2 hours now, and of course the entire week since the culmination of Martinsville's race last week. It was certainly a doozy as well, not without controversy. Travis Miller did walk away officially the race winner, and that is going to actually help him out in this title battle because they now enter just 4 points separated, with Justin Winters having that advantage. And currently, if they were to finish as they are in practice, oh boy, Travis Miller's looking pretty good.
Yeah, certainly the momentum that he's going to be carrying forward from that win last week. Obviously, that race turned out hectic at the end. It was hectic for a while leading up to it, and then the post-race discussion of what to do about the situation that unfolded there at Martinsville. Travis Miller definitely was part of that conversation, and we knew that Travis Miller would be really good at Martinsville, and nonetheless, anywhere else, Travis Miller has been on top of this season. You can see on the screen he's got 3 wins and is the only driver to do so this season. But Justin Winters has been consistently able to put up points that have at least given a run for the money for Travis Miller to take that title. And you can see coming into this race, he's behind by a few points. They're looking for a good finish. That BRP number 22 going to be trying to go as fast as he can and get around Kentucky here for the entire length of a full race, which is going to be the big talking point for the night, is the endurance aspect that these drivers are not quite used to with a full event. But Travis Miller is coming in with a lot of momentum. Justin Winters is going to try to figure out a way to thwart it and get ahead of him. And it's going to be an exciting race tonight. I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Yeah, this is honestly the kind of championship that NASCAR wishes they could get. 2 drivers who stood at the top of the standings for the entire duration of the season, kicking off with Travis Miller winning at Daytona on an incredible last lap melee finish to give him the inaugural win of the season, and then Justin Winters winning in Atlanta, and then it's been back and forth between these two for the entire season. And now coming into this, after all races combined, the gap's only 4 points. It is everything they could have hoped for. There's still John Kender, the wild card factor. He is 24 points out, many of whom see him as a non-contender at this point, as it's basically he needs a miracle to win his championship, but you never know. Miracles do happen, and what a great way to do it if it was here in Kentucky on the home soil for a lot of these guys. They go out and win the championship in a Cinderella story fashion after that late season charge he's had so far.
Yeah, it would be huge here for any of these top 3 to get this championship finally. Everything, as I mentioned, leading to this moment as these guys get their qualifying laps in. Chris Bourgeois goes to the top of the standings. He's the first driver to get a lap in, and we'll get those standings out of your way. I think everything comes down to these 267 laps. I really have no clue how this night's going to go, guys. I mean, we've seen a lot of great racing, honestly. This has been some really good stuff all season long, and it all comes down to this 1.5-mile speedway known as Kentucky. And John Kinder certainly is not out of this just yet. He's 24 points back, and what that means is he's got to make 13 positions up on the racetrack over both of those drivers, negating any bonus points they might accrue. Now, you can get bonus points if you're one of these drivers by leading a lap. Yeah, that gets you 2 points. If you lead the most laps, you get another 2 points. And if you win the race, you get another 2 points. So that means you can earn 6 bonus points, all told. Each position this evening is worth 2 points because this is a double points event, as has been every even-numbered event, so race 2, race 4, race 6, and so on. So this is really going to open things up because in NASCAR and most, I think, oval racing series at this point, when you're 24 points back going into a race, that means you have to make up 25 spots. It's a bit different. Because of this double points format, he only has to make up 13. Now, on the flip side, that makes it that much easier for him to lose points, and it makes it that much easier for Travis Miller to try and catapult himself ahead of Justin Winters and secure this championship, but it also makes it easier for Justin Winters to gap Travis Miller. It's all going to come down to simply winning this race. For all three of these drivers, whatever else happens, happens. The good news is, for Travis Miller, if he wins this race, it doesn't matter. Well, actually, no. If he wins this race, right, he gets 4 bonus points for leading a lap and winning the race. It comes down to whether or not Justin Winters leads the most laps. If Justin Winters leads the most laps, that is the only way that he beats Travis Miller if he wins this race. So just a little bit of scenario playing here before we get too far into things. A lot of different ways this can all go, and we're going to have to pay very close attention to the points all night long here, Noah. A whole lot of different scenarios can play out. Travis Miller, though, does pick up provisionally right now the pole. There's still some qualifying left, still 5.5 minutes or so. Still a lot of time for these guys to unseat him at the top of the points, the top of the speed charts.
Yeah, only about, we're close to on the halfway point of qualifying. We're sitting at 4 minutes so far, so they have about 6 minutes to set a time. Justin Winters has yet to set a lap. Neither has Scott Fritz, John Kenders, Nick Mills, Ed Osborne, Brandon Robertson, Matt Grenier, Nicholas Noggle, Daniel Worthington, or Adam Lancaster. So those are the remaining drivers that we need to see before we really say Travis Miller is the official pole winner. Because we've been surprised at most of the season on a lot of these guys of where they are able to find the speeds. They don't have the finishing position to back up what they can do qualifying. But even though they might not be first by the end of the night, they somehow pull off these amazing hot laps that allow them to go out and win the pole position. You see John Kinder now coming to the line to complete lap number 1. He does not go fastest. He will end up around 5th. So currently, Travis Miller is still sitting on pole, but a lot of drivers now start at a time to try and chase him down.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting thing to see who comes up to the top during the qualifying lap period and see who gets faster and faster throughout the course of the night as well. They're usually a pretty different group of people, and the cream does rise to the top. A lot of practice goes into making the right laps and having the right line to get a fast win in qualifying. But over the course of the race, you have to be very dynamic, you have to have a good strategy, and you have to be able to work with what you're given. And over the course of the night, that has been paying into the favor of some of the drivers we've been seeing up front throughout the course of the season, being Travis Miller, Nathan Maurer, Justin Winters. But tonight here, with how close the points are coming into the final race of the season, and like Andrew said, with a double points race, it's going to be absolutely balls to the walls tonight. These drivers are going to be trying to get points anywhere they can, especially John Kinder, especially Travis Miller, especially Justin Winters. They're going to be trying to lead laps, and I wouldn't be surprised, and I think realistically we can pretty much see both Travis Miller and Justin Winters will be getting 2 bonus points throughout the course of this event. It'll just be up to seeing who gets more laps led, who gets the extra bonus points, and then obviously the winner of the race gets the most points out of the whole event. So that kind of stuff is going to be really interesting to keep track of, but we're expecting to see some laps led by both of them. So that kind of stuff, we're not watching as much. We're watching to see who's going to be consistently up front throughout the course of the entire 267 laps.
Yeah, we still have a whole lot of evening to go through. Justin Winters looks like he has finally brought his car onto the pit lane, but he has not taken to the racetrack just yet. So while we wait on him to take his qualifying run, let's take a look at the weather these guys will be battling this evening. It's actually a little bit warm for a night race in October here at Kentucky Speedway. 80.8 degrees, almost 81 degrees, so it makes the track temp of 82. Thankfully, even though it's a little bit warm in the air, I feel like for October, the track temp has not taken too much of that heat. Now you see Justin Winters going to roll onto the racetrack, leave the pit lane, and begin his qualifying run. So there's going to be a lot of grip in this racetrack, but it is a little bit warmer than you might expect, which might throw these guys for a loop. It depends on what they were practicing with all week long. Of course, these guys can set the sim to have any weather they want as, wow, Scott Fritz. Nail that one down as a surprise possible pole sitter. I did not expect Scott Fritz to possibly lay down the pole time this evening, but he does go to the top and will go on board with Justin Winters for his run.
Yeah, well, Scott Fritz was actually one of the fastest drivers in practice, exactly what I was talking about. They might not be able to have the pace thrown with the leaders during the race, but they can really show their stuff in qualifying. And you see Justin Winters now on his first time lap, abandoning the pink breast cancer awareness colors that we saw him with throughout the last few weeks, now coming back into the green paint scheme. I think it's a little bit different though, the new kind of green and black scheme, which is beautiful, kind of like the black and green racing machine as he brings it at turn number 4 in the Allen's Body Shop number 88 Camaro. Let's see where he puts it on the charts. He will go 5th fastest, so he is on the inside of row number 2, or actually row number 3, right behind Travis Miller. So right now it's Scott Fritz, Brandon Robertson, Travis Miller, Matt Grenier, the Martinsville pole sitter, and then Justin Winters. And if you're wondering where John Kinder has wound up in all of this, he's actually all the way back in 10th, and now we're going to see if Justin Winters can improve the second lap and try and snatch the pole. He does not. So, oh, he does. He goes fastest. So how about this? Throwing the gauntlet down here in qualifying, he now takes the pole for the season finale.
Yeah, and he knew it was crunch time, and he just put down an absolutely blistering lap, just barely getting Scott Fritz, the better of Scott Fritz, over this one. And like you said, Noah, about Scott Fritz being on the pole, he hasn't been running up front throughout the course of the season so far, but I do believe starting up front gives you a significant advantage when it comes time to get the race started. So hopefully Scott Fritz will be able to run with the guys up front tonight and keep up with maybe Justin Winters, who provisionally, with only 30 seconds left and only one car yet to set the qualifying time, Justin Winters will be on the front row at least.
That is a proper lap time. Nobody is going to beat that, I don't think, and Adam Lancaster's not on the racetrack to beat it. He would be the only car so far that has not set a qualifying time. We have 19 cars in all, and here in just a few moments we will go down your starting grid, but what a bonus here. I don't think we get a bonus point for the pole, but just a big thing. I can't even put it into words. Just it's definitely a good... Usually there would be setback if you get set back, obviously, but it's not a setback, it's a boost. That's kind of what I'm looking for there for Justin Winters. Getting the pole position, and he's just going to have a leg up on the rest of his competition all evening long, but from the get-go, that is so important for Justin Winters to get that pole position. Noah, go ahead and lead us through our top 10 of our starting lineup here at Kentucky Speedway.
Starting on pole in the 88 Allen's Body Shop Chevrolet is going to be Justin Winters. Your points are coming tonight. Starting on the outside pole position in the number 100 UNOH Chevrolet is going to be Scott Fritz. Starting back in row number 2 is going to be the number 2 Toyota of Brandon Robertson. Along his outside is your second championship fighter, the 22. That is Travis Miller. Starting back in row number 3 is where you're going to find the 15 Snap-on Ford Mustang of Matt Grenier. Along his outside is number 08 of Nicholas Noggle. Starting back in the 7th position is the number 188 of Wes Wiggin, with Chris Bourgeois starting alongside him. And then rounding out the top 10 and 9th is the number 33 of Wyatt Brackett. And then rounding it all out is the number 21 Rims 1 Ford Mustang of John Kinder.
You see him rolling off on your screen now. We're going to look at 11th starting position, the Pennsylvania driver, Daniel Worthington, going to be rolling off there, and to his outside in the 555 is Ed Osborne. Row 7 starts on the inside, and it's going to be Ronnie Shirk Jr. driving that number 7 machine, starting there with David Brackett in the Yingling, number 38, to his outside. Following those two, Josh Reinerson in the number 96, going to be starting on the inside of the unlucky number 13, the Tequila Patron Chevrolet, Brian Terry. Behind these two, starting in 17th position, the Texan Joshua Abbey in the 05, and his outside is going to be the number 8, and that is Nick Mills. Rounding out your grid, did not set a time in qualifying, the number 28 Ford, Adam Lancaster, going to be going to the front as we're getting closer and closer to starting this event here.
Already into turns 3 and 4 on our one single formation lap. These guys are ready to get things kicked off for our final Bluegrass iRacing Series points race. But even after this one, do not fret. We've got one more race for these guys next week at Bristol. It's the All-Star race, but they've got to get through 400 miles of Kentucky Speedway first. Out of turn number 4, down to the restart zone. These guys will go. Justin Winters, championship leader, has the pole. He starts this thing off. We'll race off into turn number 1.
Justin Winters in Allen's Body Shop Chevrolet is going to lead him to 1. Brandon Robertson now on the inside. He will take over the runner-up spot. Here comes Matt Grenier looking for 3rd. Travis Miller now looking at the outside of Scott Fritz, dropping back hard, almost all the way back to 5th as it leads it off into turn number 3. The big question is, who's going to lead the first lap? Will it be Robertson or Winters? If Winters lead it, that puts him 6 points ahead of Miller. As here comes Miller with a run on the bottom side. They're almost 4 wide coming to the stripe to end lap 1.
Lap 1 completes. The Tide Toyota of Brandon Robertson took that one. Oh, contact! And that's going to be Scott Fritz up in the wall with Grenier making some contact, and the Ohio driver is going to be dropping back all the way through the field here. Wow, not the way to start the race. Oh, and they're turning down the backstretch. This is going to definitely bring out a yellow.
That it does, and that involves the 28 of Adam Lancaster and the 113 of Daniel Worthington. A big checkup that actually begins with points leader Justin Winters in turn 1, leads to calamity out of turn number 2, and there was the final bit of contact that causes our first yellow flag on the evening. It involves, as I said, Lancaster and Worthington. We're going to go all the way back, and we're going to see what we can't find out about the start of this incident here. It was an interesting one, and it took a while for these guys to wreck.
Yeah, they went 4 wide almost going to the final part of the straightaway. You saw Winters go up there. There wasn't enough room. That shoved Matt Grenier up into the 100 of Scott Fritz, and then it was just melee on back because everyone trying to fight to the bottom, and sadly that takes out Adam Lancaster, winner from Talladega, Daniel Worthington, one of those drivers who runs in the back, but in the end of the race always finds himself up there in the front, and sadly that just took out a couple good cars. Adam Lancaster, as Joe talked about, did not set a time of qualifying. He was charging his way through this field. You're going to see in the onboard, he sees these drivers check up and capitalizes on it. He gained up almost 4 spots in this corner, but sadly, wrong place, wrong time, and that puts him on the back for early in this race.
Yeah, and you can actually see, if you watch the replay there, you saw that it was actually Wyatt Brackett in the 33 machine who was trying to avoid the incident, and when they came through the corner, he got a little bit too far down onto the yellow line below them, and I think the banking difference caught him out and got him loose, and he did do a nice job of recovering the number 33 machine, but unfortunately, see he's sliding there, he does save it, awesome stuff from that, but he comes up, he merges back in where there are already cars running a little bit prematurely, and that's unfortunately going to take Daniel Worthington for a ride, and Adam Lancaster, wrong place, wrong time, indeed, got caught up with that one too, but Brackett just doing the best he could to keep the number 33 machine clean, with the checkups going on in front of him as a result of the 4 wide and almost an incident with Scott Fritz. See, now he didn't check up, or he didn't lose it because of the checkup. He checked up, and Bourgeois actually got into the back of him. So a little bit too close to react in a timely manner to avoid hitting the number 33, and that unfortunately brought Worthington and Lancaster into that one.
Through all of that, Brandon Robertson will emerge our race leader. Travis Miller, 2nd place. Justin Winters in 3rd. Nicholas Nagel in 4th. And John Kinder in 5th. That's your top 5 after just one green flag lap. These guys have completed the rest under caution. We're coming around to complete lap number 4 of 267. A long ways to go. You never want to see that kind of incident there at the start. Definitely going to set a couple of those guys back in a 19-car field. Hopefully they don't drop off of the race as a whole. I do want to remind everybody that, of course, we have some partners this evening. As per usual, we're going to kick off with Tucson Sound Art, and quite simply, your picture, your music. And they've been a great partner now for a while with us, even going as far as to set up a promo code on their website, TucsonSoundArt.com, so you can get your Tucson Sound Art device today for 10% off by using promo code PitStop TV at checkout. Also, a big shout out to the BRP iRacing series. There we go. We'll talk more about them the rest of the evening, as well as Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine and Whiplash Media. We'll get to those guys on subsequent yellows. We got a lot of racing left to go, and hopefully it's mostly green. I think these guys have it in them. I think that was just kind of getting those jitters out. There's a lot of racing to go, and you don't want to get behind early. And unfortunately, it ended up in a couple of these guys being set back here on lap number 2. We're coming to a lap 6 restart once these guys do take the green flag. Brandon Robertson, as I mentioned, is your race leader. He's got a lot of hungry drivers around him, including Nicholas Noggle, who's still looking for his first win on the season. Out of turn number 4 to recollect the green flag is the number 2 Todd Toyota Camry, and we are back racing at Kentucky.
And because of that caution, it has now put Travis Miller into the runner-up position. So now Miller going to be on the defense, while also on the offense, because if you remember, we talked about in the first lap, if he leads that lap, that'll now drop into 2-point gap between the two. So that's exactly what Miller wants. But Robertson not going to relinquish it. He was one of the 4 championship contenders all the way back at Bristol, but got taken out in that. But he's still been a contender for the race to win, as though he blinked a little bit. So that almost could have costed him the win there. Now here comes Miller down to the inside. He's not going to lead that lap that time by. But winners now 3 wide back there in the middle of the field for the 5th spot. Here comes John Kennedy to the inside. He's going to take a 2-for-1 special going to turns 1 and 2 as he tries to take over 3rd.
Yeah, and as he's trying to take over 3rd, Travis Miller's trying to take over the race lead. They both ran the bottom side through 1 and 2, and the number 22 machine now, they're going side by side still through turn 3. The number 21 has made the pass for 3rd place, but Brandon Robertson's going to fight hard to stay in front as he blinks again and does get to lead the lap. He does reappear in time to take the lead. And how about John Kinder setting the fastest lap so far of this race? He is on a charge to get up to the front right now. Brandon Robertson, one of the more aggressive drivers in our field, but he's doing a good job of holding the 22 back right now.
Yeah, Miller's trying to get up there, and he's trying to get a lap led for a very important reason. Just leading one of those laps, let alone the rest of the race, is going to give him a bonus point. And currently, he would win the championship if the race ended now, but we've still got 260 to go, as there he goes down to the bottom side on the front stretch. He's finally going to make another move down to the bottom side of Brandon Robertson, and not even a slide job, just uses the bottom, hooks the apron, hooks that yellow line, and finally clears the number 2, but the 2 is not going to let that one go easily, and here comes Nicholas Noggle as well. A big fight, trying to get to the bottom side. Miller throws the block, and now they're all going to kind of check up a little bit. Of course, when you enter from the bottom, you're not going to have a good corner. That opens the door to the 2 of Brandon Robertson, and he gets 2nd place back.
Miller's going to lead that lap. Now move the championship fight to 2 points. Nicholas Noggle running back there, trying to take over the 2nd position. Noggle coming with a full head of steam. He had the win locked in at Martinsville, but had a strip due to a late race penalty. So he is going to try and get a little bit of a comeback story here for the season finale at Kentucky. Is he really fighting aggressively with Brandon Robertson, which is exactly what Miller wants to see, because behind those 2 is John Kinder and Justin Winters. So that is keeping them at bay, allowing Travis Miller to try and somewhat pull out a bit of a lead, but they are going to clear it up. And now Miller is going to have to try and run away from that number 2 Toyota as he tries to do whatever he can to lead the most laps.
Yeah, and Robertson's getting back on it. Robertson's a very aggressive driver. That number 2 machine, as you see, that was Noggle and Kinder getting really close to making contact coming into the entrance of turn 3. Justin Ware's holding on to these 2 as well as they come out of turn 4 now, just trying to make it through the race but stay with the leaders. I think that's the strategy for the moment. He can't stop Travis Miller from leading this race from where he is right now, so he's just got to try to stay with them as much as he can and hope that Brandon Robertson can pull something off and get back in front of the 22 machine. They come out of the backstretch again, single file down the straightaway, and Justin Winters just holding on as best as he can.
I think Winters is comfortable right now. I mean, granted, the race ends like this and he doesn't win the championship, but there's so much racing to go, and I think he's just saving his tires right now. That's super important in a race like this. We do have, I believe, 8 sets of tires total. That should be 7 that these guys get to put on throughout the course of this 267-lap event, so obviously they haven't pitted yet. Wyatt Brackett did, though, I think just to get some repairs made. I think some others made some pit stops simply for repairs, but Justin Winters really does just need to count his chickens and sit back for a little bit and just let the race come to him. He's got plenty of time to make this one happen, and he has a leg up. Granted, it's only one position on the racetrack now that he has to work with, and again, right now he's a little bit behind, but he's got a long, long time to go, and honestly, he's been one of the better drivers all season long, despite the fact that the 22 of Miller has one more win than he does.
Yeah, but just consistency is key. Remember, he went on a really good tear for a couple good races up until Talladega, where he was up there in the runner-up position, and during those races, oh, Robertson in the wall! That's going to check up in front of all of them! Now Robertson spins to the inside. He will avoid getting collected with the 2 championship contenders, but now that is going to bring out another caution. That's probably going to take him out of contention because he's going to have to use that fast repair and now run over 200 laps on pins and needles trying to make it to the end with that.
Yeah, that was not what Brandon Robertson wanted at all. And actually, John Kinder probably had a Code Brown moment seeing the 2 car slide up out of turn 4 and hit the wall right in front of him. They actually did make a little bit of contact, so hopefully Kinder doesn't have too much damage on the front end of his Mustang, but we're checking a replay out, and you can just see the 2 slid up the track too quickly. Noggle almost hit the tail of the 2 car and then slides to a stop on the front stretch. So not too major of an incident, but it happened right at the front of the grid, and some of the big contenders so far in these first 15 laps of this race are going to be looking to come back from a major setback here.
Props to Brandon Robertson for locking down the brakes, because sometimes you'll see those drivers let the car back up across the racetrack and cause big problems, but he gets the brakes locked down, holds them after he spins, and he just gets tight right here. And this is a product of some aero push. You hear him get out of the throttle once he realizes he's going to be in the fence, and unfortunately nowhere for John Kinder and more to go. But I mean, what a miss here for Nicholas Noggle. Let's watch his onboard. This is insane how close he is to getting caught up in this. I think the only 2 Toyotas in the field, and they're so close to both being out of this in this one incident alone. But yeah, no, I mean, for Brandon Robertson, it just comes down to he got tight. I mean, aero push is definitely a big thing with this aero package on these NASCAR Cup cars, and he was just kind of following in the tire tracks for, I think, a little bit too long there, following the tire tracks of the 22 car, and gets up into the fence.
While you were doing that replay, though, we did have our first pinners during this caution period. John Kinder did come down. It looked as though Travis Miller and the rest of the leaders were going to come down, but they did fake him out. My big question, though, is they passed the commitment line of that yellow line that is at the entry of pit road, and then they jumped back out of line. So I'm wondering if they're going to get a commitment violation for jumping back on the racetrack. I'm not sure how iRacing does that, but I know in NASCAR that is a big no-no that a lot of drivers like to do. So it'll be interesting to see how much this affects, because about the entire top 4 did that. I think the only one that's maybe safe from that was Winters, but I know Miller was a big one that did that. But now John Kinder is going to fall all the way to the rear of the field during this caution period.
Yeah, and that's a tough break. We're going to see if we can get some word on what the deal is with this possible penalty. Here you're checking out Travis Miller coming down the pit lane, and
he'll be safe. The paint and box on iRacing doesn't matter. It's that cone up ahead.
Right. So the cone, it's the commitment cone, and it is a real cone in iRacing, contrary to what NASCAR has recently implemented, where they got rid of the actual physical cone on the racing surface. So going to be okay for those guys up at the front end who did the same thing as Travis Miller on that replay. But certainly, yeah, in the real world, not something you want to do. A trained eye would have been seeing that as a major red flag for this caution period. But fortunately for these guys up front, they are safe. The iRacing rules are slightly different, and we're okay to go. So Travis Miller will be able to lead us back to the green as they're starting to slowly single file or double file back up here with Noggle to his outside and Winters right behind him. I think we're going to be about 1 to go here at the line, or 1 to go and green at the line.
And that's a great eye, a great catch there from Noah Carmichael. But yeah, in iRacing, that painted box doesn't matter. That's not what dictates if a car is in pit lane or not. In NASCAR, like you said, Joe, that would usually dictate whether a driver has committed to the pit lane or not. We'll leave it up to you guys watching as to whether or not it should be. But it does not dictate whether or not a driver has committed to the pit lane here on iRacing.com. It's a matter of that yellow cone a little further up ahead. And likewise, on pit exit, there's a green cone that these guys have to abide by. And then even a blue cone, actually, at the blend line before they can come back up onto the racetrack. So it's a three-cone process, if you will. And, well, that's just how it is, pitting here on iRacing.com. But we are coming up to lap number 19. Of 267, still 150 or so, or actually 250 or so to go. A lot of racing left in this championship, and Travis Miller has control of the Bluegrass iRacing Series field, coming down to the second restart of the evening already. He gets those rear tires lit up. We're back racing at Kentucky.
Miller with a big jump coming into turn number 1. Winters now going to the bottom side. Nicholas Noggle, he will clear them for second. So now the fight is on. Can Winters catch up to the 22 and bring that points lead back to 4 points as they make their way down the back straight into turn number 3, as Winters now on the charge to try and take over the front spot.
Miller leading the way through 3 and 4. You're watching out the tail of that machine and see how close Justin Winters is going to try to get that number 88. He doesn't seem to be making up a lot of time on the surface right now. He's got a car to his outside. Nicholas Noggle trying to do something on the top side. We're on board now with the Camaro number 88. This is Justin Winters on the gyro cam as he's going to run in the draft of the number 22 machine and try to catch up as much as he can through these next few corners and see if he can get up there and get those 2 bonus points for leading a lap.
Every corner is so important for these drivers because every corner they run, it's going to tear away at their Goodyear Eagle tires, so they've got to make sure that they are certainly aware of the fact that it can definitely wear these tires out early if they decide to run for these laps early on or save their tires. So, I mean, it's going to come down, I think, to tire management all evening long. The entire top 5 still on the tires they started with. I believe Wyatt Brackett also falls into that category. Scott Fritz, it's hard to say. He had a 55-second pit stop. Not really sure why it took so long for him. Ed Osborne, I think Matt Grenier is the first driver that would be on new tires, and even then, I don't think these guys have pitted for tires yet. I think that's purely cosmetic or fuel related, so I don't think any of these guys have taken tires yet. Very wise not to do so. Travis Miller, Justin Winters, it's come down to these two all season long. Nicholas Noggle just trying to play spoiler.
Well, my best guess for what happened with John Kinder is maybe when that wreck happened with Brandon Robertson, he did hit him in the rear, because he noticed when he did get involved in that wreck, Robertson kind of took a little bit of a sharper angle once those two met. So he might have damaged the nose with a little bit of net code thanks to that. So he obviously not wanting to use the mulligan to save that for if he totals the car. So he's going to take the 55-second damage repair, go to the back of the field, and just kind of ride around for a bit, do what he usually does, and that's make these long-run strategies work. And you guys are talking about the tires. I looked through a little bit of the practice times when the session first came up, and what I've been seeing is a lot of these drivers have been able to get around a median of 50 laps on a full set of tires. So that is maybe what you're going to expect. We're about halfway through the first stint, so expect maybe around lap 45, between lap 45 and 55 is where you might expect to see these people or these drivers make their first round of green flag stops if we can get there under green.
Yeah, well, Noah, you said John Kinder trying to ride around here in the back, and I'll tell you, he's trying to ride around, but he's not trying to do it slowly. John Kinder, a very aggressive driver, especially when he has to overcome something like some damage that he has to fix on pit road, or like we've seen in the past with a money shift, or just a couple incidents that he did not have any way of avoiding, like at Martinsville. John Kinder is moving on a tear. He's just passing cars left and right now. He's trying to get himself all the way back up to the front end. He's already gotten up to 4th spot, passing Ronnie Shirk Jr., who's now going to also get passed by the number 28 of Adam Lancaster, who's recovered gracefully from not putting in a qualifying lap at all in the qualifying session. So your top 5 rounded out right now by those 2 teammates, 21 and 28. They're on a charge to get back up there with the 08, who they're very quickly catching here in turns 1 and 2, and then obviously up to Winters and Miller at the front end.
These guys have got to be on new tires, right? I mean, John Kinder is just picking them up, laying them down one by one. This is insane how he's passing these cars so easily. These two have to be on new tires, and they are catching a lead battle right now, and it is becoming a battle because Justin Winters is there, and he is knocking on the door, and currently it's red. I think he wants to paint it black with his black and green Chevrolet. He's got to get by this 22 at some point to get a lap led and nullify that bonus point. There's 2 bonus points, actually, that Travis Miller has picked up.
And to answer your question, I am looking at my ATVO, which shows the laps, how many laps there are on that stint. He said, no, he did not take tires. It still shows he's on 27-lap-old tires. He's just that quick, and he's a man on a mission trying to take his spot away. He's all the way up to second. Lancaster, you talk about, started all the way in the back. He's made his way up to all the way up to a third, playing spoiler for Justin Winters, which is just absolutely impressive. These two obviously teammates worked so well together for most of the season, working with each other to make it work and run up here in the top spot. And honestly, if there is a team championship, these guys might have the best shot of winning it just because of how well they work together. As here comes Kinder now. How about Robertson back there? He is the mulligan of the fast repair. He's now with the 4th, as now we got an aggressive fight for the race lead here at Kentucky.
Yeah, and Kinder is just on a tear. Lancaster looking on the inside of the number 22 machine and sliding up a little bit. He stays down on the yellow line. But I wanted to look at what Justin Winters did, because it almost looked like Justin Winters just let them go. He didn't want to hold them up because maybe he knew that the 21 was going to be fast enough to take the lead from the 22 machine, and then Kinder would be able to get those bonus points, which obviously would then take away from Travis Miller's laps led count. And maybe that was some strategy on hand from the 88. A little bit of big brain trying to get somebody else to lead some of these laps and maybe take those extra bonus points away from the 22 car. But in the meantime, Kinder and Lancaster have passed both of them, as has now Brandon Robertson. And John Kinder is just pulling away from them now. Lap 30 is about to be completed. On to lap 31. Like Noah said, they're all on the same aged tires. So I'm not really sure. It's just John Kinder is running it right now.
I will still firmly believe these guys have to be on new tires. There's just no way. I mean, they caught them and blew by them. They blew their doors off so easily. As far as Justin Winters goes, though, Joe, you ever heard the saying, work smarter, not harder? It's got to be applying the same way. Race smarter, not harder. He's just riding around. And right now, these two would tie for the championship. Granted, the tiebreaker would go the way of Travis Miller, but right now, it's just trying to get through this race. I mean, he's got to go 230 more laps before it's even thinking about how this thing's really going to wrap up. He's just got to get through this race, first of all. And sure, he might be thinking about those bonus points, let them get Travis Miller that much easier, but really, I think it's just trying to keep himself in this race. No reason getting caught up in that battle when they are clearly way faster.
Yeah, Kinder's just right now in another zip code. You see the championship fight raging on back there throughout a little bit of the midfield. That is the fight going on there for the 4th position, as right now Kinder, Lancaster, and Robertson have just sailed away, as now Miller and Winters, which we've been seeing all season long, running nose to tail again as they make their way through turns numbers 1 and 2. Kentucky now obviously with the reconfiguration. Different corners as we were used to, compared to what we're used to seeing with old Kentucky, and then they're going to go through the flat bank turns. So it's really going to be a mix of who's able to conquer this track, whether on both running a banked turns through turns 1 and 2, and then running a flat part of the racetrack, kind of like a longer version of New Hampshire a little bit, just a little bit more banked than that as I make my way back to turn number 1, as they're just going to have to fight it out as we're already approaching lap 40.
Yeah, and I want to go back to what Andrew said about we're running smarter and not harder. It is absolutely crucial that you make it to the end of the race if you want to finish in a good position. If you don't finish the race, you're not going to get a good finishing position. So obviously Justin Winters is not going to be trying to do anything crazy right now. We're barely 35 laps into this race. We've got over 200 to go, and Andrew just hit the pin on the head. It is not the time to be making big moves, although he does go around the outside of Travis Miller right now, so maybe he's just trying to hang on and run consistent lap times. He slid up, got kind of tight out of the corner, and I think he might have had to check up a little bit there. he loses a little bit of time off the 22's rear bumper, but Justin Winters definitely knows, and we know he's one of the most strategic and intelligent drivers that you could possibly be putting out there right now, that Justin is just going to try to get to the end of this one before he starts worrying about championship and winning this race.
Well, it helps when you've got Huffy on the spotter stand, right? But no, I think Justin Winters is just trying to kind of see if he can finally find a way around that 22 car. He's been behind him now since the restart, almost 20 laps ago, and he's just been riding around, and at some point you got to wonder when he's going to try and make that pass. He's nosed out to the inside, outside a couple of times, hasn't found anything in either lane. I think that was just another shot at seeing if he could get by easily, but obviously it didn't work out. He pushed up, almost got the wall, and so he's backed off a little bit and, cooled the tires off a little bit, restarting that charge back up to Travis Miller. Back behind him, though, how about Nick Mills? This is interesting to me. Granted, it looks like he's also on new tires. He's up in 6th place, and that's a massive run for the driver of the number 8 car.
Yeah, gaining 12 spots since the start of the race, starting only back in 18th. That number 8 Camaro has really started to make a charge towards the front of the field. Now he tries to reel it in on the number 88 of Justin Winters, trying to kind of spoil the fun for the 2 championship contenders. But that was an incredible run by him, as we've seen him struggle for the last few weeks. He didn't have that good of a time in Martinsville. Kind of the same for John Kinder. We talked to him a couple times throughout the race. He just was not having any sort of entertainment, like a lot of drivers in that chaos that was going on at the half a mile of mayhem, as we talked about a week ago. As he comes into Kentucky, Kinder now leading, Mills up to 6th, and now Robertson in 3rd, and Grenier, who led a majority of that race, is only back in 9th, and then Ed Osborne and Brian Terry 10th and 11th. So a lot of guys are really starting to show some muscle here in the finale, trying to get the best results they can to close out the inaugural season.
Yeah, well, these are some of the drivers that we haven't really seen running at the front end of the field for podium positions and for race wins so far. But Matt Grenier is a good example. Wyatt Brackett, Ed Osborne, drivers who are just that loyal to the series, that they want to come out and still try to win, try to get good finishes, even here at Kentucky with this long race here and the final race of the season. Some of them do have respective points championship fights to be competing for in their own position in the championship. Grenier was one of them that we talked about a lot last week at Martinsville. So these guys are really awesome to see them all coming back out again, giving it one last hurrah for the points championship, and then obviously we hope to see them in the all-star race as well. But John Kinder right now leading the way up front is one of those drivers as well that has been coming to it at the end of the season, has been starting to show he's really serious about this series, and it's paying off for him at the moment, as is the other guys who haven't really had the same performances and results as some of the front-running drivers we've been seeing week in and week out in this series.
Yeah, Matt Grenier is actually in an interesting position in the points. If we revisit that, he's actually moved his way up. I believe he went from, I want to say it was 11th place to 6th at Martinsville. And we're going to pull this back up on my end real quick. I just want to confirm this. And I'm looking for it, I promise. I'm just taking too long to find this dang thing. But no, it was a serious move for Matt Grenier. And the interesting thing to think about, you guys talking about being loyal to this series and making every single race, just being there week in, week out and such. Well, there is a 10-point bonus for each of these drivers who does make it, or who do make it rather, to every single race, who at least shows up. It's a 10-point bonus for everybody. That's why we had asterisks on the point standings that we showed you earlier. We'll show that more on one of these yellow flags. And Matt Grenier, I believe, using that, has catapulted himself up to actually 5th place, not 6th. So he's right behind the top 4. We talked about a big 4 through a lot of the season. Justin Winters, of course, Travis Miller in that, but also John Kinder, who, don't forget, he could still win this championship, and Brandon Robertson, who has a couple of wins apiece, coming at Indianapolis, and, I can't even think where the other one was. But regardless, those 4 drivers have been the best all season long. You throw in Matt Grenier, who's just been there. He's been quick, and he has made his name one to remember. He's up into the top 5 in points. I mean, this guy just shows up, and he just keeps his nose clean and is there when it matters. I believe he he had a pretty darn good finish last week as well. So Matt Grenier doing great things for himself. Want to recap on that top 5, though, on the racetrack, as John Kinder still leads. It's lap 45 now of 267. He's got teammate Adam Lancaster a little ways back. It's another half second to Brandon Robertson. In 4th, we still have Travis Miller, Justin Winters in 5th, and Nick Mills just kind of hanging on right now for the P6 position.
Wyatt Brackett's still running back there in the 7th position. Matt Grenier talking about Martinsville. He led a majority of the race, was one of the heavy favorites, but got taken down in a late race crash. He's now up to the 8th spot. Nicholas Nago's fallen back to 9th after that last caution. He's still only on the top 10. And then Ed Osborne, that 555 Miller High Life Mustang. He's really started to show it in the later half of the season. He's been able to run in top 10 for a majority of the season, but has been running fighting to get in there. Now he's been solidly one of those guys that you expect to see in the top 10. So he's really shown his colors here in the later half of this campaign and is now looking to do even better. But still just John Karen, Adam Lancaster right now, just another zip code. Those guys have it figured out. And obviously, thanks to Andrew for updating me on this, I am wrong. So Lancaster and Kinder are both on fresh tires. Same for Robertson. So my ATVO was wrong. It tells me that they didn't pit, which was weird for me. I thought it was just updating when you took tires. But no, so they are on fresh tires, which explains a lot on how they're able to outrun the field as much as they are. Fritz getting a little loose back there.
Yeah, on your screen you saw Scott Fritz get down below the yellow line where the banking ends in turn 1 and 2, and it upset balance of his number 100 machine through the corner, but obviously Scott Fritz, good driver, and he was able to regain control of that one. We're getting to about lap 50, which, as Noah had mentioned previously in this broadcast, is about when we would expect to start seeing some of these guys coming down the pit lane. 2 yellow flags would lengthen that a little bit, so we possibly have a few more laps before we actually start seeing the cycles of pit stops occurring for the guys who did not come and get tires yet. But for drivers like John Kinder, Adam Lancaster, and Brandon Robertson that did get fresher tires, they are still on a charge and they won't have to come in. They could, but they might not, and stay out front for a little while, maybe try to gap the rest of the guys out here that are going to be coming into the pit lane within a handful of laps to get some fresh rubber and get some fuel back in their machines for their first stop of this race.
And Noah, in a race with no stages of this length, I mean, usually when we see these kinds of races, it's in the NASCAR Cup Series. These guys have stages to break things up, and they've got to consider that in their strategy. It actually makes sense now, thinking about it, for John Kinder and Adam Lancaster, Brandon Robertson, Nick Mills, to take those tires, move up in the race. Because when you consider the fact that these guys are going to be running 50 laps at least on their fuel runs, they're really not losing anything. They have extra tires, if anything, because, pitting every lap 50, for example, you're only going to use 5, maybe a 6th set of tires. So if you're using one now early, it just means 1 extra. So if anything, you're going on 7, but actually opens it up to where even if they were to pit every 50th lap, which I don't think they will, I think they will go even further, they would eliminate one of those pit stops out of the way anyways. It would just be taking a scheduled pit stop because you'd have to pit to cover from lap 250 to 267. So I think these guys are actually working the race in reverse and actually right where they need to be. And they get all these laps led, especially if you're John Kinder. But also just these guys like Brandon Robertson, who had to have a serious comeback to get back up to this position. And those new tires definitely helped. And Nick Mills, who was just past Justin Winters. How about that for the number 8 car? We've not seen much out of him all season long, but starting to find something here at Kentucky.
Yeah, so far we're in lap 52. We haven't seen anybody pit yet, so you are right. People are going to try and stretch it out. But yeah, Kinder, Robertson, and Lancaster are going to be on a different type of strategy if they want to get this done. But what they're going to want to do is hope this thing goes green and they don't have a chance to all pit at once. Because if you have a chance to go out there and run longer, then you can get your strategy going. But if a caution comes out, that kind of ruins everything that you have going there. And you brought up the stage racing, which is true. The stage, well, on top of being able to have a better chance of strategizing your race because of the stage breaks, that's not how it is here. And on top of that, it's just like Joe talked about at the top of the race, or top of the broadcast. This is an endurance race that's anything, because we're used to seeing these guys run the half distance. Now they're running the full 100% race. This is a 400-mile event, and these guys are going to be worn out by the end of it. So they're going to be trying as hard as they can to just keep the attrition up and be able to keep a little bit of the energy going as they make their way to this race. Because once you get to the halfway point, you're going to start seeing a lot of drivers fall off and just be worn out, because at a track like Kentucky, even, it is just such a hard track to tackle, and to do a 400 miles is just going to be unbearable for a lot of them as Lancaster gets loose off of turn number 4.
Yeah, we saw Lancaster slide up and hit the wall a little bit right there. I don't think it was anything major, and the 28 machine should be okay to continue here. But yeah, you talk about the fatigue factor of this race, not just for the cars, but for the drivers themselves too. Surely by the end of this one, they're going to be having some eye strain. They're going to be a little cramped up, a little tired. So hopefully they're going to be trying to accommodate for that and try to lengthen their abilities to keep their stamina up and keep their focus on the race cars they're in as they stand. This strategy was an interesting situation and has unfolded in a very interesting way for the 21, 2, and 28 machines, as they were able to regain the leads of the race and pass everybody else, as well as Nick Mills. Obviously, we don't want to leave Nick Mills out. And here we are, as we see the first drivers coming down pit lane that did not pit initially, or so far under the yellows. Justin Winters coming down the pit lane. Ed Osborne, the number 555 machine, also coming down to get some fresh rubber and fuel. Scott Fritz, one of them as well, as we're going to cycle through and see where this comes out at the end of it. It's going to be interesting to see how this strategy is going to change the way that this race happens and how these drivers race it through the next couple, say, 15, 20 laps.
And we're going to keep in mind the fact that Justin Winters is now undercutting Travis Miller, so we're going to watch for that number 22 to be down the pit lane soon. Nicholas Noggle comes in. We've got, it looks like, John Kinder comes down the pit lane. That's a surprise for me that he's coming in so quickly, but he is now matching the strategy of the drivers behind him, so he just used those tires as a free gimme to go up to the race lead, and now he's going to come in right with them, and that is huge for John Kinder's race. Adam Lancaster, I think he's in as well. Brandon Robertson is going to stay out on the racetrack. I see Travis Miller in. This is big for these guys. They're all coming in at the same time, so it's big for those drivers who stayed out, and man, it shows that these drivers who did not, it's big for the drivers who pitted, there we go, and awful for the drivers who stayed out. Now I'm back on track.
Yeah, so the John Kinder strategy is a little bit more interesting than we thought. We thought he was going to try and maybe a short pit and pull the undercut. Instead, he just used, like you say, use those tires as a free gimme to go get the lead. But on top of that, to go stretch out the lead, because he has a massive lead compared to the likes of Justin Winters and Travis Miller. So the championship contenders right now, he's in a very good position as he just passed Lancaster. So right now, with where they stand with the pit cycle, he is going to be back in second. So all eyes are going to be on the number 2 Toyota of Robertson to see when he opts to come in for his second stop, if he does choose to do the whole undercut strategy talking about. White bracket really high off of turn number 4. Does not impede John Kinder, but it could have been very close, as now Kinder going to try and charge back down and continue those just to stretch the lead if this thing goes green all the way.
And so it's about 4.5 seconds here of a lead, as we actually, one thing we didn't mention yet was what happened to Travis Miller on the pit lane. He missed his box and fell back a significant amount as a result of having to throw the car into reverse to put it into the little box that iRacing qualifies as your pit stall here in the game. So sliding through and having to back up lost Travis Miller time on the racing surface that he's now going to have to try to fight and get back up through. But we also want to mention John Kinder's strategy of coming in with everybody else. What he was able to do there was he was able to skip the entire length of the ending stages of these guys' runs when they had older tires and were sliding and going a little bit slower across the racing surface. He shortcutted that entire process of using up the final stages of the Goodyear Eagles, and he maintains fresh rubber that's going to keep him going quickly at the front end of this group of cars. So the strategy move from John Kinder didn't really hinder him. As we've said, about 50 laps on a set of tires would get you through about 6 sets, maybe 7 sets if you shortcut it a little bit over the course of this run. So John Kinder really didn't lose anything by doing that, and in fact gained the ability to stay in front of the likes of Travis Miller, Justin Winters, and the rest of them by coming in at the same time as the rest of them.
Yeah, at some point, John Kinder's going to cycle into the race lead. Nick Mills comes down the pit lane. He was, I believe, up into second at this point before he pit. That moves Wes Wiggin into his position as the rest of these guys on their old tires go on by him, and the guys on new tires as well. Brandon Robertson leads this race. It's lap 63 of 267, coming up to 200 to go here shortly. And this is interesting that Brandon's deciding to stay on the racetrack so much longer. It looks like he's trying to run a normal stint. But what's really surprising me is Chris Bourgeois, who he is lapping right here. Chris has not pitted yet, and he has gone longer than any other driver on this racetrack on tires and fuel. He's now going to complete 64 laps when he comes around. No, he's going to pit. So that might be why they didn't go this long, because he was looking slow. He pushed up the racetrack there. I wouldn't be surprised if he even dropped onto 0% rubber on that right front, which, if you're familiar with iRacing, means you've blown a tire. It's kind of weird the way that works, but just trust me on that. So Chris Bourgeois comes in after some 64 laps on the racetrack. That's incredible, and it might even... It's not going to win him the race, I don't think, but it might move him ahead of some others that he was racing otherwise. So, interesting strategy there out of the driver from Louisiana. Brandon Robertson, though, continues to lead. It's now lap 65, coming to 66. Interesting that these guys have still gone this long. Actually, no, David Brackett has also not pitted yet. This is incredible stuff that these guys are pushing these tires so long.
There's a lot of drivers who haven't pitted yet. Drivers like Wes Wiggin, Joshua Abbey, David Brackett, Worthington, Brian Terry, all those guys yet to have come in for their green flag stop, as you see wedging it 3 wide in the middle, as Brackett's going to let both his brother and Nick Mills by, as now they make their way back into turn number 1. As you see, just the pace is falling off there. These guys still need to go out there and get those new tires. Robertson amazingly being able to hold on to the race lead that he has. He has a 15-second lead, and it's still not that much from between him and John Kinder. But John Kinder is just still trying to get his lap back. So what basically Robertson might be hoping for is to get caught with a caution to try and trap a couple of these leaders a lap down, so that way he can go and get the pit stop and then have a possible shot at coming back out with the race lead. Or maybe he's just going to try and cut a pit stop out altogether and see how far he can take that stint that he's on.
Yeah, obviously cutting an entire pit stop out of your race is going to save you loads of time. Now the question is whether you get that time back or lose it, being the slowest car on the racing surface with the oldest tires on track. It'll be interesting to see how that strategy is going to unfold for him, but we've only got a handful of cars still in between John Kinder, who we presume will cycle back out to the race lead within due time, and the front driver right now, Brandon Robertson, who hasn't pitted quite yet. He's actually just behind John Kinder, and if John Kinder were slower than the number 2 machine at this moment in time, he would probably be coming up to lap him. However, John Kinder obviously had come into the pit lane and gotten fresh rubber. Brandon Robertson on much older tires than that car. Brian Terry, you see him sliding all the way up the racing surface in the number 13. We wonder if he's going to be trying to come into pit lane at some point soon, as he is going to go a lap down for the first time here, as the number 2 car passed him, and the 28 is going to come up and try to unlap himself from the 2 car, and he will successfully complete that pass as well. So the tire strategy is starting to play a factor in who's running where on the racing surface right now. Some of the guys are just ending out their green flag runs here.
David Brackett finally going to come in. It's lap 70 that he is pitting on. That is incredible. I didn't think I'd see a set of tires go this long. That is incredible that he's saved his tires in some regard to go 70 laps here at Kentucky. He did end up, I think, staying on the lead lap as well. So that's incredible stuff from David Brackett. We'll see how that strategy works out for him. It's a bold strategy, Cotton, I'll tell you that. Brandon Robertson, Wes Wiggin, and Joshua Abbey, your top 5, they all came in on that second yellow of the race way back around lap 15. So they restarted on this set of tires around lap 19, I believe it was. So, I mean, it's within reason, actually, that they've gone this long, because we saw Justin Winters finally come in at lap 56. So, lap 56 on his tires. These guys have actually gone longer consistently in one consistent run than those other guys who had not pitted went on theirs. We are just inside of 200 laps to go. And that's incredible to say that we've got 200 laps to go almost here at Kentucky. But Brandon Robertson leading the way. An update on your championship battle is actually rather interesting because now there's a car in between these two championship contenders. But it should only be for a little bit because Travis Miller is quickly catching Daniel Worthington to wrap that back up to just be a, it'll be a 4-point gap because actually, despite Miller having the bonus points for leading a lap, he's a position behind Justin Winters. So it's still a 4-point gap for these two, but there's still a whole lot of racing to go.
Yeah, there's so much racing left to go. We're now just under the 200 laps to go mark here at Kentucky, which just tells you how long this race truly and really is. We're not even close to the halfway point of the race, so we're now officially in the part of the race where drivers just kind of run their line, get these laps logged in, and then start going for the fight for the position. Because now they're just in the midpoint of the race, they're going to settle in, and just kind of like how we talk about always with endurance racing, you get through those first 15 minutes of the race, you have like 22 hours left to go, and then you're just at the point where it's like there's no need to push the car too hard. No need to make a silly mistake that takes shag attention for a win, or in this case, a championship. Just run your line, run your laps. Oh, Nick Mills with a dive bomb going into turn number 1. So yeah, so obviously he's not with the same mindset as he's just going to make the dive bomb and try and take those positions away.
Yeah, and you can see Travis Miller catching up because the number 8 machine, unfortunately, he did that thing that we've been seeing drivers do occasionally, is get down and touch the inside on that yellow line. Justin Winters, as I speak, he's trying to make that pass on the number 2 car, get his lap back, and he's going to successfully complete that pass into turn number 1 and sticks Brandon Robertson way far up on the high side of turns 1 and 2, gets it back down and regains control of that car. But like you said, it's all about getting through the middle stages of this race. We've got a lot of laps to go. The drivers know this darn tootin' well as Nick Mills now goes down the inside of the number 2 machine, and he is going to retake that lap back. Joshua Abbey relinquishes his position on track to finally get the 05 machine some fresh rubber and put some more fuel in it. Wes Wiggin did the same. Those two might be running a similar strategy for this event, but interesting that they went that long before coming down pit lane, Andrew.
Yeah, and it's even more interesting that Brandon Robertson's still on the racetrack now, looking at 60 laps on his tires. Brian Terry's still out there as well. There is a new sponsor, it looks like, on this number 188, so we'll give a shout-out to that. I always like to see companies get involved in sim racing. It looks like it's Bucked Up Energy adorning the hood and sides of this 188 Chevrolet Camaro. So I just want to give a nod to that because, again, it's really cool to see companies get more and more involved in sim racing. And, of course, they're paying... right? They're paying or supporting in some way for that ad space on that race car. It's like a moving billboard. So may as well give them that little bit of a shout out and a little bit of money's worth right there. The number 188 as well was up into 3rd place before he made this pit stop. I believe he might have even been into 2nd place. It depends on how they were with Joshua Abbey and Brandon Robertson and such. There is a narrowing gap up there for the race lead, though. I wonder if Brandon Robertson, seeing how long these other drivers have gone on a tank of fuel and a set of tires, if he's trying to go all the way until lap 70, just like some of these other guys, in the hopes that maybe he can catch these guys on a yellow flag or something and save that pit stop.
Yeah, I was just trying to cut out a pit stop or just hope for a caution to be able to go out there and keep the track position as you have rather than relinquish it and go all the way back towards the tail end of the field. But now he's kind of in a part of no man's land a little bit. If he pits, he's going to fall way to the wayside because now Kinder, Lancaster, Winters, and Miller, all those guys who are as fast as he is, if not faster, have now taken their laps back and are going to be on considerably fresher tires for the next few laps. But the moment Robertson gets those fresh tires, expect him to start putting down hot laps to try and take back the lap that he's going to lose the moment he pits. So if you're wondering exactly where he is right now, so obviously Robertson was the lead entering turn number 1. To give you an idea for 2nd place Kinder, there he is off of turn number 2. So he is starting to spread the lead a little bit. The gap is still 24 seconds, so a big gap once he pits. That's going to turn from 24 seconds to a +1 lap on the number 2.
Well, yeah, and also consider that as the run goes on, the amount of speed difference you get between two drivers goes off and they get closer and closer together. You see Ed Osborne all over the tail of the number 100 machine. This is a battle for position right now. for 9th place on track. So the 100 machine, the Ohio driver Scott Fritz, enters turn number 3 with Ed Osborne right there behind him. And the Miller number 555 is going to try to keep hold of the rear bumper of the UNOH car in front of him. These two have raced each other recently in the series, and they are also two of those drivers. You see here, Ed Osborne didn't get into turn 1 anywhere near as well as Scott Fritz did, and that's going to lose him time as they come off of the corner again. But these two of the drivers who have been sticking it out with this series and have started getting good results, solid results that have started to show their value as competitors in this series and for their own gain as
Brandon Robertson finally comes down the pit lane. I'm sorry to butt in there. I noticed Brian Terry had come in finally, and then I saw the orange, yellow, and white streak roll on by there, Joe.
Yeah, so obviously Brandon Robertson comes in relinquishing the lead. He's just, at some point, you got to come get fresh rubber. At some point, you got to get that car fixed up and checked out and ready to keep going on another long run. So he's going to relinquish it and come get that car checked up and checked out of pit lane. And Brandon Robertson will see how this cycles out, and we'll see what the pit strategy is going to do to the position on track when Brandon Robertson gets back up to speed.
And Noah, what's interesting is he's lost a lot of time to John Kinder, somewhere in the nature of 23 seconds, but he's only lost a handful of positions on the racetrack, only back to P8. And he's going to get a lot of these spots back. He's got Scott Fritz, the next car behind him, but now he's on 20, almost 30-lap fresher tires than these guys. He's going to go back by a whole lot of them, and really, it's not going to cost him that much in the grand scheme of things. However, we finally have a battle shaping up. Well, I shouldn't say shaping up, but it's getting closer and closer as David Brackett battles the 22 car. That's not for position, but if you look out the windshield of this 22 car, you see a familiar black and green Chevrolet Camaro up ahead.
Yeah, the black and green racing machine of Justin Winters, who is still holding on to position, which is going to give him the championship in that spot if he holds on to it. And just like I talked about, just keep an eye on Robertson, because even though Robertson lost those positions, which in reality isn't that much, it just tells you how spread out this field really is. He's going to start sitting flyers of a lap, and now he is in one of the best positions to go take this win away, because if this goes green, regardless if a caution comes out, he's in a very good spot, because now he's going to be on 20 lap fresher tires than any of the drivers that are leading this race. So expect him to maybe pull down a fastest lap. He's going to have to charge his way to the field, because you see him there across the start-finish line. Kenner's only in turns 3 and 4, so if he makes one mistake, that could trap him a lap down, which is not what you want to see, as he's now trying to tackle with the 33 of Riot Bracket, the 7 of Ronnie Shirk Jr. As he has he goes all the way down in the apron to try and avoid, I'm about to say, a full traffic jam on the back straightaway. He clears him with ease as he sets off into turn number 3.
Yeah, and that was a heck of a moment to see Brandon Robertson having to dive all the way down below the yellow line on the backstretch to get around Ronnie Shirk Jr. But you talk about the strategy of what Brandon Robertson has just pulled off. He's on the lead lap. He's got a fresh set of tires, and he's moving it. The Tide Toyota is on a charge right now with the best fresh rubber on the racing surface, and definitely, this sort of long event is going to play in the favor of intelligent strategy moves, and it's just been paying off for some certain drivers over the course of the run differently. Right now, I think this is the catbird seat. I think Brandon Robertson is going to be in the best position for the next handful of laps, as he's got the freshest rubber and is making the best lap times at the current moment.
So in case you're just joining us, some 88 laps into this one, we're just about a third of the way through this race, and the whole race has been turned upside down a few times. John Kinder leads on now lap 89 of 267. This is the 400-mile season finale for the Bluegrass iRacing Series. Travis Miller enters this race 4 points back of Justin Winters, and he is now nearing the back end of that 88 car to try and make a pass for position. That would tie these guys back up, because right now the deficit is still at 4 points, because every position in this race is worth 2 points apiece. He's got that bonus point. Travis Miller does. Justin Winters, I don't believe, does yet. In fact, we'll double check on that by going to his onboard and pulling up his race stats so far. No laps led. So those 2 bonus points for Miller leading that lap leading those couple of laps is really working wonders for him right now in this championship fight. He can ride where he is and still be at the same point he was behind. And now, all he has to do, if Justin Winters does not lead a single lap in the rest of this race, all Travis Miller has to do is beat the 88 car.
It's kind of what we talked about from the get-go of this broadcast. It's going to come down to who beats who on the racetrack. This is peak of like what NASCAR would want to see. You do this entire season, and now in the final race, you're looking at the two guys fighting for the championship, nose to tail, in a must-win scenario, or at least a must-beat scenario, in order to win this championship. But the driver who is currently in a good position, if these two make a mistake, is again John Kinder, because he's led a lot of laps. He has 2 points. He is currently on track to gain the 2 points for the most laps led, which is how much he has led. So if those two make a mistake, which is fingers crossed that doesn't happen, but obviously that's the number one thing that Kinder would need to see in order to have a shot at winning this title and pull a miracle in Sparta, Kentucky, if he wants to try and win this championship and be the Alan Kulwicki of the Bluegrass iRacing series and steal it in the final race.
Yeah, John Kinder's definitely looking for that sort of thing, as we've got a tight battle right here between Miller and Winters, the two championship contenders Noah just mentioned. They are side by side into turn number 1. Winters on the outside holding his momentum. Travis Miller on the inside, and the momentum on the top side is going to allow Justin Winters to slightly nose ahead of the 22 machine down the backstretch, but into the flat turns 3 and 4. Joshua Abbey sticking his nose in here now. So this is a 3-car battle between the two drivers fighting for position, and Joshua Abbey trying to regain some time on the racing surface. They're still side by side. They've gone a whole lap like this, and they're going to try to keep doing it until someone gets out in front here.
And Josh has got to be safe here. He's got to be very careful, and I think he will be, in treading lightly with this battle up ahead. These two side by side. This is potentially for the championship. Of course, these two are the championship contenders right now, the only two with a real chance. It would take a lot for John Kinder, but as Justin Winters goes up that racetrack, that was actually looking like he was maybe going to plow the wall down. Thankfully, keeps it off of the wall. This battle, we'll stay with this actually for a moment, because this is just too good, and it's too important in this season as a whole. 12 races, and it comes down to these two fighting side by side now, lap after a lap, and we've still got almost 200 laps to go, as Justin Winters finally going to have to fall to the wayside and let Travis Miller get up into third. It's going to take a lot, though, for Miller to get up to Adam Lancaster. 3.5 more seconds. That would put him ahead definitively by a whole extra car of Justin Winters, and would put him ahead of the 88 by 2 points and not have to use the tiebreaker. What it's going to take for John Kinder, though, is not only a race win, not only that lap led, obviously, that comes to the race win, but also leading the most laps. It's going to take a whole lot, plus getting those bonus points. It narrows it down from like a 13 position differential to 10, but it's still a whole lot to ask of this race to go absolutely correct for John Kinder to win this thing. He's got to win. He's got to lead the most laps, which he's currently on track to do. And those two, Travis Miller and Justin Winters, have to finish, I think, 11th and 12th or worse. And he's got to have Justin Winters be behind Travis Miller just for some extra good luck, extra insurance in that. So it's going to take a whole lot to go absolutely right for the driver of the 21. Also worth mentioning, let's not forget about this 2-car Brandon Robertson, because he has caught Justin Winters, and he goes right on by the 88 car.
I was going to bring up the fact that not only was there a fight for position that could have taken the decision for the championship, but the person that is being sandwiched with Travis Miller of the 38 of David Brackett and the 05 Joshua Abbey, that is the fight for the lucky dog position in this race if a caution comes out. So obviously those two are going to fight aggressively with each other and try and be in a lucky dog scenario for in case the caution comes out before Scott Fritz goes a lap down. As now here comes Abbey, not going to waste any more time. He's going to try and make a move to the inside and get around the 05s. Now here comes Robertson, maybe to take a peek on the outside and make a 3 wide to take over the third position. So there's a lot on the line here, as Abby's trying to chase back down and take the lucky dog position. Miller's trying to take out a lead to get away from winners and take the points lead, and then Robertson is trying to rebound from his pit stop and take back the race lead. He is going to clear him with those fresher Goodyear Eagles, or Goodyear Eagles you might want to say, as now he takes over the third spot. So there's a lot going on here in the middle stages of this race, as now Robertson is going to try and chase down the number 28 of Adam Lancaster.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Noah was really right. This is, oh, look out. Oh, Robertson checked up a tiny bit on the inside, and Miller had to check up as well to not run into the back of the number 2 car. But I'll tell you, Noah is right. This race is very dynamic right now, and these guys are battling really hard in a very interesting way, with everyone having their own respective necessities of what they need to be doing right now to try to get in front of each other. Obviously, Joshua Abbey has his sights set on the Yingling number 38. Travis Miller trying to hold back Brandon Robertson and keep the number 88 in his mirrors. And then Brandon Robertson obviously trying to get right back up there with Adam Lancaster and John Kinder. As it currently stands, they're still about 7 seconds up the road from the number 2 machine, as we're on board with Josh Abbey, who's now caught back up to the Yingling car and is going to try to find a way to get around him down the inside out of turn number 4. The 05 to the bottom actually doesn't go to the bottom at all, stays in the middle of the racing surface and kind of pinned. That was so tight right there, 3 wide, almost into turn number 1, 3 wide. Brandon Robertson making some passes on the outside. The pressure rubbers coming into play for him. Travis Miller now to the outside of David Brackett, who lost his position to Josh Abbey, still trying to hold on to him, but now he's got some pressure on the outside with the number 22 machine, and Justin Winters trying to catch up to the whole group of them at the same time.
And now that pass is sorted out for Joshua Abbey, and unfortunately David Brackett losing that position. And now they've got to be conscious of this championship fight that they're amidst, and just honestly let the 22 car go. There we go. Finally, Travis Miller able to get by. Hopefully they do the same for Justin Winters. Let them battle as uninterrupted as humanly possible, because this is a great battle that is shaping up currently. And currently with an asterisk, because there's still a whole lot of racing to go. I've been saying that all night long because there truly is. But currently, Travis Miller would be your champion by a tiebreaker. He would have 4 wins, and of course, he would currently finish higher than Justin Winters. So that's what it would take right now for the number 22 car. I believe the tiebreaker, we were informed before this race, was is going to come down to who finishes higher in this race. Not necessarily wins, but the 4 wins help. Sorry, the 3 wins, the 1 win extra. You get the point.
And now here comes Abbey in the back to the bottom side. We talk about letting him by just to let him go run away from Justin Winters. Abbey's like, I'm trying to run away from the 38 of Brackett to keep the Lucky Dog spot. So he has the championship fight obviously in the back of his mind, but he has his own little incentive to go out here and race regardless of that to try and keep the Lucky Dog position. Wyatt Brackett, though, in a 33, now the last car on the lead lap, as it looks like Scott Fritz. Yes, Scott Fritz has pitted already, so now that puts Wyatt Brackett the last car on the lead lap. He is currently entering turn number 2, as Kender's entering turn number 1, so that should not last too much longer before we see the Lucky Dog position change. As now Abbey's still just all over back row 22. He is not letting off one bit here.
Well, yeah, and you talk about these drivers having different incentives to be on the charge right now. Joshua Abbey trying to put Wyatt Brackett as far behind as possible, or David Brackett, sorry. The wrong Brackett brother that was. But yeah, he's just trying to hold on as best as he can, maybe try to catch up because he knows that there's probably going to be a new Lucky Dog position driver in due time, as well as Travis Miller trying to gap Justin Winters as much as possible. You're riding on board with Brandon Robertson, who has caught up to Nick Mills in the number 8 machine. He is not a fight for position at this current moment, and hopefully Brandon Robertson is going to be able to get past him, because the driver in front of Nick Mills is who Brandon Robertson is after right now. 2nd position, and here you see Nick Mills on the inside, way slower than the number 2. Going to carry some momentum and catch up, and that is the bumper that Robertson wanted to see. That is 2nd place Adam Lancaster down the front.
Robertson has just been picking him up and laying him down one by one. Keep an eye on that gap ahead as we ride on board with Brandon Robertson, because that is what matters. And also that gap to the leader, because those are live. Those are the live intervals to both Adam Lancaster right now, the driver ahead of Brandon Robertson, and John Kinder, the driver leading this race. So He has made up some almost 20 seconds on these drivers, and here we go. He's going to drop down onto the apron down the front stretch, and Brandon Robertson makes a power move down to the inside. He takes second place here on lap 109 of 267. No, he doesn't. Not so quite, actually, or not so easily, because the Ghostface Brewing number 28 fights back on the top side.
That low entry into turn number 1 is really going to ruin it from the middle of the corner on exit, so he had to let off there to avoid getting in contact with the 28. Obviously, he used the fast repair already, so he needs to be very careful. He used his mulligan earlier in the race. That's what we talked about. He needs to run over 200 laps with as clean as he can if he wants to have a shot at the win, and exactly what he's doing. He knows he has a 20 lap or so fresher tires than both Lancaster and Kinder, so all he has to do is just bide his time, and eventually he'll get around this 28. He doesn't really have to worry that much because he's on a whole nother level of pit strategy than either of the two front runners, so eventually he will take that race lead away. So he's going to try and maybe pull a crossover using turn number 4. He's going to look back down the low side, have the run down the banking, and he's going to chase him all the way through turn number 1.
Yeah, Lancaster chased the two down the front stretch and down the banking, but he was unable to do any good for him. So, look out how close Scott Fritz was on the inside of Brandon Robertson. He's sliding up a little bit there on the two cars as they came through turns 1 and 2. Ed Osborne's going to try to follow through. Those two definitely have to have fresher tires because they are running away from this group here as they got through safely, but just barely. Scott Fritz almost made contact, or maybe even did, almost had a significant influence on Brandon Robertson's run through 1 and 2 there. That was some scary stuff for these guys up front.
Travis Miller and Justin Winters have both pitted. They've both made their stops. Justin Winters, the most recent of the two. Travis Miller pitted 1 lap early, got that undercut, and he is back on the racetrack with an extra little bit of a gap, it looks like, to the 88 car. Right about on time, it feels like, for these drivers as well. I would expect the leader, John Kinder, to come down somewhat soon. It feels like a multi-class race watching these guys on different tire strategies, and these drivers who are faster, just like prototypes in IMSA and WEC, they've got to be respectful of these battles they come up on, because we've seen some interesting moves, and we'll just leave it at that. But it's tough to gauge that difference in speed. They've just got to be careful with it, as it looks like Adam Lancaster will come down the pit lane as well.
4 cars now left on the lead lap, Lancaster being one of them, so that'll drop to 3 here in a second. Wes Wiggin will take over the 3rd position in that bucked up Energy Chevrolet. You talked about the fact of businesses getting into iRacing and sponsoring these drivers. I actually looked them up. It's so, like, you know, it is an energy drink, but it's actually kind of like a supplemental brand. It's not exactly like how Monster Energy and Red Bull are that you find in Walmarts. These guys are in GNC and Amazon, which is incredible to see. So a little bit of a big name coming here to sponsor the 188, which is amazing to see. Obviously with John Kinder as well, the Rims 1 Ford Mustang, a local business out in North Carolina, and then the Ghostface Brewing on Adam Lancaster's car, and Alan's Body Shop with Justin Winters. So there's a lot of local sponsors you'd love to see join these series and support their drivers, but it's incredible to see how many of them will come in and put money in to just support these guys as much as they can as they try and make it here at sim racing.
Yeah, there was another one. Grenier looked like he might have got a little bit cattywampus out of turn number 4 there, but you talk about sponsors. It was also Nathan Maurer was one with Simbox, and then, like you said, with Lancaster and John Kinder getting sponsorship from Rim 1 and from Ghostface, and then obviously the BRP iRacing Series and Gaston's on the side of the number 22 car, which is on your screen right here in front of David Brackett, who I must mention is not actually Wyatt Brackett's brother. That was on my end a misunderstanding of the situation, but actually David Brackett is Wyatt's father. So the number 38 and number 33 are not brothers running out on track like the Bush brothers out there, but rather maybe an Allison type situation as a father-son duo. You saw Ronnie Shirk Jr. coming down the pit lane there, so yes, we are continuing to have cycled pit stops from some of the drivers who are nearing the ends of their pit cycles, but at this point in the race, they're so spread out that we could almost expect that we'd be seeing a new car coming into the pit lane every handful of laps or so, because some of these guys are short pitting, some of them are long pitting. The strategy that played off of those initial 2 cautions at the start of this race, starting to spread everybody out in the pits and their respective points at which they need to come in and get fresh rubber.
Josh Anderson seems to have had some kind of problem, but we're going to cut away from this replay because our leader, John Kinder, is down the pit lane. He is going to surrender that P1 spot to Brandon Robertson once more. And again, this is right on cue for the number 21 car, even a little bit longer, I feel like, than we expected. So he's getting a few extra laps out of this number 21 Rims 1 Ford Mustang. You mentioned those sponsors, Noah, and Rims 1 presents the Halfway Leader Award, and it just might be their number 21 that gets it. We'll have to see at the completion of lap 134. So we still have some time to go, and Robertson could pit, but I think he's going to stay out for it, actually. So Brandon Robertson may pick that one up, and I believe that would be in the number of multiples somewhere there for Brandon Robertson to get that award. That's $10 to the halfway leader, and Ghostface Brewing, adorning the number 28 car, as you mentioned, also presents an award to these drivers. That is the guy who needs a beer, the Hard Charger, and right now it could be their car who gets it. Because, actually, no, you know what? Lancaster did not qualify, so he did not qualify himself for that award. So we'll have to see if those other guys who started towards the back could try and get it. But Lancaster is now under fire from the Allen's Body Shop, number 88 Chevrolet, who is looking to get that 4th place spot and move himself back up into that tie with Travis Miller.
Yeah, but it might not be too happy with Adam Lancaster either, because as soon as you got to the replay right beforehand, Adam Lancaster had dove into the corner and slid up and doored it into the 05 of Abbey, and that was right in front of Justin Winter. So that was a very close call between those three. So obviously Lancaster, what we assume would be those fresher tires since he has pitted. Yes, he has pitted. So just trying to use these fresher tires and run away with it, still keeping that 88 of Winners at bay. You got to wonder also, even though that Kinder is not really in a position where he has a shot at winning the championship with how they run. With Lancaster running in second, that does create a buffer between the championship contenders of Miller and Winters. You got to wonder a little bit of the teammates trying to be a little helpful to give him a better shot at winning the championship by holding up the 88 of the 22 to keep him from running down to 21.
Well, obviously, yes, John Kinder's going to want Adam Lancaster to be holding these two up as much as possible. But generally speaking, it's a little sketchy to start having these drivers getting a little bit less than paying attention a little less, and maybe watching their lines a little less intensely than they have, and to see something like what Noah mentioned Adam Lancaster did right before he came on screen, that he did get into contact with Joshua Abbey. So this is the type of stuff that will breed a caution if the drivers start to fade a little bit, if their focus starts falling off. And in the middle of a long stint like this, especially for how long we've gone green flag racing since our last yellow flag, it's not out of the picture to see something like that happen. At the current moment, at least for the drivers we see on screen, Brandon Robertson and Justin Winters, everything is going smoothly and they're doing their best to continue running good laps and staying clean. We see Wes Wiggins now through 3 and 4 off the front stretch right in front of the number 22 machine of Travis Miller.
And, of course, we mentioned some of those partners here on some of these race cars, be it Ghostface Brewing Company in Mooresville, North Carolina, Rims 1 in Mooresville, North Carolina. Oh, Wyatt Brackett! Whew! Lucky he got on the brakes there because he almost ran smack at the back end of Wes Wiggin. These guys battling for second place. That's what I'm talking about. These guys on faster tires have to keep in mind there's a big speed difference, and you got to be a bit more respectful than that and almost run into somebody right there, because that could have wiped out Travis Miller, and that's exactly the kind of thing that you're talking about there, Joe. It can absolutely turn into a caution. It can absolutely turn into a championship-altering incident. These guys have got to be mindful of that. For the most part, it's been all right. You've seen some big moves here and there. A little bit of contact every once in a while. Hasn't been too bad. Now also a pass for third place as our stream takes took a break there. I guess it wanted to take a knee or something. I don't know, a water break, something. But, no, I wanted to use it as a segue. The sponsors on these cars to talk about the BRP iRacing series. They'll be coming to PitStop TV here as of Monday night. And they are a series run and owned by Northeast Big Block modified drivers, crew guys, and vans. And if you're looking to get into dirt racing, already are, this league is for you. BRP is a fixed setup league that runs the 360 wing sprint cars and pro late models. We'll be broadcasting their 360 wing sprint cars starting Monday night, October 26th. Make sure to check in for that at 8 p.m. That's going to be cool to bring some dirt racing back, but he's under fire from, well, Mooresville, North Carolina's Adam Lancaster with Ghostface brewing on that machine, and it looks like Lancaster is going to make quick work of that 22 car.
Absolutely. He's been running up there in the second spot most of the race, so it's no surprise at all to see the number 28 Ghostface Brewing after starting all the way P last, as Ronnie Shark Jr. has left the server. So we guess we have our first DNF of the night, as Ronnie Shark Jr. calls it a night and calls it a season. As now here comes Lancaster diving down to the bottom side to get around the 33 of bracket. He's going to try and clear him and sail away with that second place spot. We are quickly approaching, though, speaking of which, with Ghostface, not Ghostface, I always forget a little bit, because these halfway sponsors and hard chargers are a little bit of a newer thing, and I'm still picking up on that. But we are closing in on the halfway point of this race, believe it or not. And you're wondering how long it's been since the caution. The last time we saw a caution was around lap 18. So we are going to start to see the attrition as, man, look at this. Just to give you an idea, just up ahead, it's a really big pack. There's about 4 or more cars ahead of him, so that's about half the field. And look who's in the middle of it. Right in the middle of this pack is a 22 of Travis Miller. Who's at the rear of this pack? Justin Winters. So the championship fight, it doesn't matter where these two are, they always are somewhere near each other in a championship altering champ position. It's just look how massive of a field. And then John Kinder as well, who is trying to outrun Travis Miller. So all 3 of our championship fighters are within a second of each other and in the middle of this melee of a pack going through the racetrack.
Yeah, and you saw this whole group. You saw that Daniel Worthington relinquished his position in this large group of cars to go bring it in for some repairs and some fixed up new tires and fuel in the 113 machine. But the rest of them are still racing really hard amongst each other. Obviously, we're on board here with Justin Winters, who can see the whole slew of these 7 drivers who are going 3 wide out of turn 4 right now, with Travis Miller on the inside. Almost contact up top. That's Wyatt Brackett and Ed Osborne. They're still 3 wide into turn number 1. This is the type of stuff Justin Winters both wants to see and also doesn't want to see. He doesn't want this happening right in front of him, but he certainly would like them to be holding up Travis Miller, which this racing and side-by-side action is going to do. It's going to slow down the 22s. He's not going to be able to... Oh, look at him sliding up the racetrack. He got really tight through turn 3. Just held on to it. Switched lanes, actually, with Wyatt Brackett, but they're still side-by-side. This is the type of stuff Justin Winters needs to try to get back up and get past that number 22 car.
And I haven't seen this kind of thing with these lap cars fighting this hard with these leaders since Richmond Raceway way back at the 3rd race of the season, but it certainly is impactful on this championship battle right now. Travis Miller had tenths of a second, somewhere in the multiples, almost a second on Justin Winters. Now it's almost nose to tail, and it just takes that little bit of battling, and Wyatt Brackett was the one to battle there with the 22 car. Now he'll go back to battling with Ed Osborne. It's just that little bit that brings these two back together now side by side once again, and this is the halfway lap actually, so it's important to keep an eye on the race lead as Justin Winters gets right on by the 22 of Travis Miller, and Brandon Robertson collects the halfway leader award from Rims 1 in Mooresville, North Carolina.
Speaking of Rims 1, John Kinder's still running back there in the second spot. He is off of turn number 4. Because of how bunched up that field was, that did allow Robertson to not only spread his gap from the leaders, but also Wes Wiggin in the 188 hits the walker on turn number 4, very slow down the front straightaway. I thought that might have almost been a caution causer, as he's very slow down the front straightaway. I was about 169 there in his turn number 1. Maybe those tires are starting to get the better of him in that Buck Energy Chevrolet. But Robertson has not only spread the lead to create a gap between him and Kinder, he's also closed the gap to Winters and Miller to put them a lap down, because these guys are still in the fray of a lot of these back marker drivers who are stuck a lap down. Drivers like the 96 of John Renderson, the 100 of Scott Fritz, the 33 of Brackett, and the 555 of Ed Osborne. So they're really kind of still in the fray of all this dirty air and not able to really go out there and spread the lead that they have, as it's just still trying to get through these field of lap cars, trying to run away from Robertson, and we still wait to see what his next pit stop is going to be.
Yeah, and at the same time as Robertson's trying to run away with it, Justin Winters and Travis Miller are trying to survive this large group of cars. trying to get through this lap traffic. But Justin Winters did capitalize on the lap traffic in front of him, able to use that race that Travis Miller had side by side with Ed Osborne. And the name has besieged has left my brain, has left the server inside of my head. But the racing between the lapped cars and the lead lap cars, and especially these two championship contenders.
Whoa, Justin Winters hard in the fence!
You checked the number 88 car out. He hit the wall hard out of turn number 4.
Hard in the fence was the number 88. This is going to be big issues for him. You hit that wall once, it's going to be easier and easier to do it over and over again. He got that wall pretty good, and the right side of the car doesn't look too bad, all things considered. But that's exactly what Travis Miller needs. He needs that 88 to make a couple of mistakes like that. And at this point, if you're Travis Miller, you've got to start calming yourself down, smooth on the wheels, smooth on the throttle, and if you're using the brakes, smooth on those as well. Because you see, you already got inside the head of the 88 a little bit. You've got him to make a mistake or whatever. Either way, if the 88 hit the wall, you've got still a half a race to go. Still just inside of 200 miles. Travis Miller just needs to be able to capitalize on this and capitalize on it correctly.
And it looks like John Rennerson is going to call it a night. I looked back to the field to see where they were running, and Josh Ferguson, I'm pronouncing his name wrong, one of the newer guys in the series, I presume. He just came speeding down the pit lane and then just parked it. So I'm guessing, yeah, you see him right there, blazing into the pit stall. You could tell that obviously running in the back of the field, maybe not too happy with how he ran with Travis Miller. And he's just going to say, I'm going to get out of here before things get worse. So he is going to call it a night here on the season finale, as Robertson still your race leader. John Kinder back there in second. Lancaster still in third. Winters with the right side damage after pounding the wall at turn number 4, still holding on to a 4th place spot and what would be the championship clincher. And then Travis Miller in the number 22 BRP iRacing 4 Mustang is running 5th. And not only that, but the last car on the lead lap, as Grenier is the first car a lap down, as we're now approaching lap 141 this time by.
Can we just take a second and mention the fact that Justin Winters smashed into the wall in turn 4, and he is still holding on. See, now he's just falling into the grasps of the number 22 machine as I start talking about how impressive it is that he is still running as quickly as he can and as quickly as he is with that number 88 machine. The Allen's Body Shop car, definitely going to have to check out the body shop after the contact he made with the turn 4 wall, but he held on to that position just this long, up until Travis Miller cuts down the inside and through turn 3 regains that position. Justin Winters is still running really strong with this car. Very impressive to see how quick the 88 car still is, even though he got up into the wall, made that contact, and evidently he would have put damage on that on the right side of that machine. So definitely an impressive run here that this car is still holding up as well as it is.
Whoa, and a bit of a mistake there at center of the corner there for Travis Miller. Got the apron popped up off the inside line for a moment, and there goes David Brackett to pass both of these guys, a 2-for-1 special, and Miller's going to go right back down to the yellow line. I feel like Winters is getting a little bit flustered, I think getting inside his own head now, and racing a little bit too hard. You saw him a couple of laps ago dive down out of turn 2 and actually almost get into the right rear of Travis Miller. He's just got to sit back a little bit, relax. Still a lot of races to go. You see Nicholas Noggle leaving the pit lane, and here comes Joshua Abbey. More cars on new tires going by these guys. They've got to be really careful when they do so.
We also got to be careful of as well is the number 2 Robertson, because while he still has to pit, if a caution comes out, they could get stuck a lap down, because while they're exiting turn number 4, Robertson is entering turn number 4, so he is not that far behind. You can see him there on the top of your screen as he's exiting turn number 4 right there. So because of how much you guys are fighting, and again being stuck in the dirty air of lap traffic, is allowing the 2 of Robertson to close up the gap. As now Noggle on the front of Goodyear Eagle is going to fly around the outside of Winters, and then presumably do the same thing to Miller here in the next set of corners. There he goes on the outside. He's going to clear them. So now we're going to have to deal with these new drivers on new tires. And now Brackett into the wall coming out of turn number 4. Ed Osborne's going to slam into the rear of him. They keep it going straight, but that could have been a really close caution, as now we're getting ready to approach the 100 to go mark here in this race.
Yeah, that was quite something to see Wyatt Brackett and Ed Osborne just shoot up to the top wall in turn 4 there. Obviously, they were able to regain control of their motorized vehicles, and they stay clean here. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of damage on the right sides of those two cars. We're watching Justin Winters right now, who's fallen off the tail of Travis Miller, just a pinch, but you can still see the two on the screen at the same time. So you know they're still close together. And even if the championship is in his head right now, he's more worried about trying to get up to that tail end of the number 22 machine again. He wants to catch back up and try to get that position. Because like you said, Noah, Brandon Robertson is coming along nicely. He's got a cleaner line, cleaner air, less cars on the racing surface around him. Obviously, well, now see, he's going to relinquish that, as I say it, to come down the pit lane and get some fresh rubber on the number 2 machine.
What's interesting to me is this is exactly 120 laps to go for Brandon Robertson. This is one pit stop for him. These other guys, I think, have to make 2 because they still have to pit. So Brandon Robertson may be shaping himself up for a pretty darn good run right here, possibly a race win. And I think if this thing goes green, that's going to be what John Kinder looks at as the potential turning point for him. He could have stayed out. He could have played this exact same strategy and raced Brandon Robertson. But also at that point, you're changing everything about this race, and who knows what would have happened. But you have to wonder what would have been if this does go green, because right now it's shaping up for a pretty darn good run for the driver out of New England, who has led 65 laps on this race so far, and we still have a whole lot to go. I'd imagine that number is only going to go up, which is incredible given how his race started, wadded up in the turn 4 wall. Keep that in mind as he storms his way back through this field.
Yeah, the turnaround has been impressive. You talked about it the first time around when he pitted. He only fell back to 8th. Because of how many cars are lapped down, he's only fallen back to 6th. So he's almost already in a top 5 spot, depending on where Matt Grenier is on the track. He is actually exiting turn number 4 as Robertson's about to do the same. So he's actually close to taking back a top 5 position here, which is incredible. These guys have been green for over 100 laps. These guys have just been...
Hey, knock on wood. Don't jinx it too soon.
I mean, these guys have been incredible how they've been able to handle themselves with a few close calls that we've had. As now Kender still your race leader. He's going to allow the 38 of Brackett to the inside. Just let him on by as even though we have had those close calls a couple times, they've been just minding their P's and Q's and just tearing away at this race. And it's not even 10 o'clock. We're not even 2 hours into this race, and we're already approaching that halfway. We're already past the halfway part of this race, closing in on 100 to go.
Yeah, but the big strategy is definitely going to be the pit stops. It seems like, generally speaking, and now I will knock on wood. Let me try to find some wood. I'll just have to use my head because it's evidently pretty airy in there. But yeah, knock on wood, we haven't really been seeing anything major happening that's going to cause a yellow. Obviously, in a race, that sort of situation can arise within the blink of an eye. But these guys have been running really clean for a while now, and if the strategies of the current pit stop cycles continue to play a factor, I think it was accurate to say Brandon Robertson's in a pretty good position with the way things are going. And then obviously right now as well, he has fresh tires and he's on a charge to get past more of these cars that are currently lap cars in front of him, such as the number 100 of Scott Fritz, and try to catch up to the likes of Justin Winters and Travis Miller. So the strategy calls definitely making a lot of noise right now, but yeah, with less than 100 laps to go, things are getting a little interesting. Obviously, there's still plenty of time left for something to happen, but currently, Travis Miller and Justin Winters still, position-wise, are nose to tail. However, there's plenty of gap in between the two of them, as now, as I speak of the man himself, Justin Winters, is going to relinquish his position on track and come get some rubber and some fuel.
And this is very early, which could go a few different ways. Of course, this could help him undercut Travis Miller. And I was just about to mention, it's going to be interesting to see when Justin does pit, if he uses his fast repair. So we'll keep with this number 88 car and see if he does so, because there's a good bit of damage to the right side of that car cosmetically, and he does use the fast repair. he is now on thin ice. That's his one mulligan for this race. Keep that in mind when you watch the number 88 getting these gaggles the rest of the way through this one. Also, we now have to turn our attention to Travis Miller and when he decides to pit, because this undercut could bring the 22 in, because the 88 is going to leapfrog more than likely Travis Miller unless he does. However, pitting this early, if we get a caution, it could catch the 88 at the wrong point in time in his pit cycle, and it could catch him a lap down or just way further back than Travis Miller. It could come back to bite Justin Winters. It really all depends on how this race falls, obviously. I think that's pretty obvious. Everything depends on how the race goes, but it's a risky move. It's a gamble for sure for the number 88.
Yeah, very, very risky move to make. Not exactly one you want to make this early in the race, because like you said, with all these drivers on their tires and how bunched up the mid-pack is, you could find yourself in a position where we do see that one caution come out that could change everything in this race and make Winters have to be as aggressive as he can to go get that, not only get his lap back, but go chase down Miller for the race lead. I see Miller still up there in the third spot. Winters is still stuck back a lap down. He's fallen all the way to ninth because of that pit stop, now getting around the 188 it was Wiggin. That is now for the 8th position on the racetrack, but still Kinder just leading throughout the field as he tries to log down these laps. And even though he might not win the championship with how things are going, how great would it be to end such an incredible halfway point of the season, just dominating the rest of the season, and then on top of that, rounding it all off with another win to your name, and then put yourself in a tied position with just Travis Miller for the most wins on the season.
Well, that would certainly be something that he's looking for, and obviously all these drivers are out here looking for race victories. That sort of situation could be arising here. Also watching, obviously, with John Kinder leading the way here, Brandon Robertson, and now, there's Adam Lancaster is going to be relinquishing his position, which is going to pay in the favor of Brandon Robertson, but Adam Lancaster brings that number 28 machine down pit lane just now. So he is going to be looking at one more stop to get him to the end of this race, albeit, obviously, I don't think you're even going to be able to stretch it out with some yellows to get to the end of it from here. And I don't know why you'd want to do that in the first place anyway. So Adam Lancaster came in there on screen. Travis Miller, you're watching him. He's currently looking pretty darn clean. Obviously, the number 2 car right behind him and is going to be catching him pretty quickly. But Travis Miller's spot right now on track is the type of thing he really wants to be seeing. And hopefully for his own sake and for his attempt to win this championship, this is the type of thing he can hopefully have last for a little while.
And Miller's pit window is wide open right now. He can come in at any time, and it's still just one pit to the end. I think at this point, you're just racing the 88 car. Do not care that the 2 car, Brandon Robertson, likely has a better strategy. It is what it is. If you can't win, you can't win, but you've got to focus on beating that 88 car, and right now he is. But keep in mind, the 88's running fast laps right now, while Travis Miller's still on old tires. So he's got to keep that in mind as far as how many more laps he wants to run, and this pit window is wide open. I think at this point, you're running at about the same thing regardless whether you come in now or in a few laps. I would just go ahead and come in, start running fast laps. We'll see what Travis Miller opts to do in the BRP iRacing Series Gaston Auto Sales number 22 Ford Mustang. Matt Grenier is interestingly up into 4th position, and we have a battle on the racetrack, actually. Adam Lancaster exits, or I think gets by Ed Osborne. This is right in front of Wes Wigand as well. Wes might pick up a spot right here in Ed Osborne. That would be for 8th position.
Yeah, solid top 10 spot. We saw Ed Osborne earlier in the race holding on at 10. So, like we say, a lot of these drivers, close call between those two exiting off of turn number 2. Osborne looks like he's just going to give his position to Wiggins. So, I'm assuming the 555, along with the damage on the right side, those tires are just kind of a little bit of toast, or a little bit more, I guess you could say burnt, kind of like Joe's Pop-Tart earlier tonight, as now Ed Osborne going to bring it in and get some fresh Goodyear Eagles on that number 555. So he's going to surrender the position and the track position that he has along with it. Noggle now up to the 9th position. Wiggin obviously still holding on to 8th. Wyatt Brackett in the 7th position, and then Lancaster trying to chase down Winters for what could be the lucky dog spot, as John Kinder still just logging down laps as he tries to get down. And now here comes Miller, and now this could be a turning point of championship depending on where he comes out in comparison to the 88.
Yeah, so we're going to be watching what Travis Miller's position on track is once he gets his service and repairs. And he's certainly going to try to not do what he did earlier in the race, which was slide through that pit box. That was a minor setback for the number 22 machine. And yep, he's good. He's good to go with this one. And so, yep, we'll see when he gets to get back on the throttle here when that number 22 machine comes out of the pit lane. Like Noah said, where is he going to come out in respect to the 88 machine of Justin Winters? They come out of pit lane now, and I think actually, so
Justin's already cleared him by quite a bit.
The Winters has cleared him significantly here on the surface of the track. So Miller's going to have to try to use up some of that fresh rubber to catch back up to the 88 machine here.
Yeah, so Travis Miller is entering the backstretch, well, now entering turn 3, as Justin Winters is already out into turn 1 right now, battling with Brandon Robertson. This is not for position. This is actually, these two were separated by a lap because Robertson's on old tires and Winters is pitted, but 11 laps ago. So a 10-lap difference in these two championship contenders. They've been on the same strategy all night long, switching up who pits first. Now, 10 laps separates them as far as pit strategy. Very interesting moves here from Travis Miller. I'm very interested to see how this works out for him. He's got half a racetrack to go. I mean, it's, I'm trying to put some math together. 13 laps or so. That is 13 seconds or so. That's half a racetrack here at Kentucky. Darn near anyways. I mean, that is a massive, massive gap to make up. And Travis Miller's got to be conscious of that. He's got to push while also saving. That said, let's keep in mind, these guys get one fast repair, and, well, Justin Winters has used his.
Yeah, Winters has now used his mulligan, so if he does get involved in a late race wreck, that is championship over for the 88 Allen's Body Shop Chevrolet. So now, not only does Miller have to keep in mind of his tires, Winters has to keep in mind of his machine, because if he hits that wall, he's going to be stuck with that for the end of the race unless a caution comes out, as we have now officially approached the 100 to go mark. So you have now completed 168 laps. We now have 100 laps left here in the season, as Kinder scrapes the wall a little bit on entry to turn number 1. Not nearly as bad as what we've seen beforehand with a couple other drivers. A little bit of a scrape entering the corner, a little bit too high. So it isn't really going to affect his performance too much, as now Winters is chasing him down to try and take back his lap. And if a caution comes out, then that's Miller who's going to be in a very, very sticky situation, as now the 33 of white bracket brings that Red Bull Chevrolet down pit road to get another pit stop done. He will surrender his track position here tonight.
Yeah, so we're here with Wyatt Brackett, and he'll make sure he hits his marks correctly in the pit stall. Interesting situations to see that Justin Winters is now on the verge of possibly having a serious incident, taking him out of contention with having to use up the fast repair.
He almost ran to the back of John Kinder. That was a sketchy pit entrance there from the 21 car. That was pitting from almost the middle lane.
Well, that's maximum. That's just maximum push. That's just the 21 machine trying to do everything he can to get as much time on the surface as he can out of that car. Maybe keeping it a little bit quicker into the pit lane is a major risk, obviously, to possibly losing control of the car coming in, speeding on pit lane, that sort of situation. But John Kinder knows he has to push to try to make up some time on the rest of these guys he's competing with. Obviously, the strategy is going to reign supreme over the course of the ending of this one. You're on board, or not on board, we're watching with Matt Grenier now, who has taken over the second place. And we haven't really talked about Matt Grenier a lot in these more recent stages of this event. He's just been kind of turning the laps. I think he's coming down pit lane right here. Yep, the North 15 Snap-on machine's going to come down and get some new tires and some more fuel in that car. Grenier's been just kind of trekking this one out for the last, 150 to 75 laps or so. We haven't really heard or seen too much of him, but he's just been trekking along. Nothing wrong with that. It's a long race, and we got to get there to see the checkered flag. You have to make it to the finish first. So obviously, Matt Grenier is doing his best to continue that trend. Joshua Abbey, we're on board with him as he's getting his service as well in the pit lane. These sorts of drivers really haven't been making a whole lot of noise, but they've been trekking along and taking off the same laps that the leaders have to try to get to the finish.
You see Wes Wiggin also back down the pit lane. And these guys all still going to have to make one pit stop. We're looking at over 90 to go. It's not quite to that point where this is their final stop down the pits. Looks like Joshua Abbey now going to be exiting the pit lane. To update you on that gap between our championship contenders, well, here's Travis Miller. He's exiting turn 2 at the Z-Max sign, now down the backstretch right in the center. Justin Winters is in turns 3 and 4. This gap has narrowed quite a bit, and it is closing quicker and quicker. It's down to about 6-7 seconds right now. So Travis Miller's already made up half of that gap. He's still got a long ways to go, though, as his tire starts to go away. I wonder how hard the 88's going to fight when he gets there.
You might want to expect not too hard at all, just because of the fact that we talked about those 10 lap or so fresher tires on the 22. He should just be able to fly right by him unless he tears them apart, just trying to outrun or catch up to the 88. As now Winters is going to have a fight on his hand with the 33 of White Bracket, who is now obviously on those much fresher Goodyear tires. Now they're going to go side by side down the front stretch, entering the turn number 1. Winters, though, not surrendering the track position. He's not exactly giving it to him, and now he does. He's going to let the 33 on by and just mind his own business, because, again, we talk about he is a fast repair, so now what he has is what he's going to have to finish with for the rest of this race, because unless the caution comes out and he hits the wall, that's about, what, a 30 to 50 second repair, just trying to get the damages fixed on that, and that might still not even get you anywhere close to having the same amount of performance you would have if you had a clean race car.
Yeah, having a clean race car is definitely the way to go around here, and you've seen a lot of drivers factor that into their aggression throughout the course of this event. That's just the way to get the car around the track the best, is just keep it as clean and perfect as possible. So some of these drivers who've had damage and had to use their fast repair is going to have to be really careful to try to avoid that sort of situation. There's a couple of them in the field that need to be aware of the deficit you get out of smashing up the sides of your car. Justin Winters, one of those drivers watching out. And so that Allen's Body Shop machine, while he's still on a tear and trying his best to put time up and try to move ahead in the positioning with Travis Miller, just to be conscious of something like that. But we also want to mention, I just want to bring it to a point to say how well these guys have been driving. Generally speaking, a lot of respect out on the course, and we haven't seen a yellow in a long time, over 160 laps, so it was really awesome to see that as a rebound from the race we had at Martinsville. That was a little bit less than ideal for a lot of the drivers last week.
Don't forget the way this race started. It did not look all that promising. Thankfully, it's been clean and green since then, but certainly it was a bit of a rough start for these guys as they got settled into the Kentucky Speedway. Travis Miller continuing to catch up to Justin Winters, but he's got to go through Adam Lancaster first. The thing that Miller has going for him is, well, that black and green Chevrolet Camaro up ahead, that is Justin Winters, and we are on board with Adam Lancaster. So this battle is narrowing up. They've got Matt Grenier in the middle of them, but Grenier on those new tires. So this battle with the 28 and 88 is only going to aid Travis Miller once they catch up to one another, and Miller is still looking great. Now you see Wes Wiggin down to the bottom side is bringing his teammate Daniel Worthington along with.
Yeah, we're right behind Travis Miller on the 22 is the 21 of John Kender. So John Kender on those fresher Goodyear tires, he's going to try and chase down the 22 BRP iRacing Ford Mustang and kind of sandwich the championship fight. But look behind them, that's where Brandon Robertson is, who is on those much older tires, but just because of the pace that he's able to set with what he has, he could be in a position to where if one mistake goes down, you could track both Travis Miller back a lap down, John Kender put him back a lap down, as well for Winters. So there's a lot on the line with this. Now here comes Kender to the inside. He's going to fly around the 22 and take over the now fourth position on the racetrack as soon as they enter turn number 1, more than likely.
Yeah, and you talk about Brandon Robertson, we're actually pretty impressed. He's one of the more aggressive drivers in the field, but he seems to have the long run figured out right now. So that number 2 car is definitely doing a pretty good job up front. And obviously we've said it already, but strategically speaking, I think he's in the catbird seat with the way this one goes, so long as we don't have any yellows. You're looking at side-by-side action, and that's just the Winters on the outside and the number 88 Allen's Body Shop Chevrolet to the inside line with number 28, and that is Adam Lancaster. They stay side by side out of the D-shaped front stretch and into turns 1 and 2, the banking, and maybe a crossover here from Justin Winters. He looks down the inside now. You're on board to catching up to the tail of the number 28 machine, and that is John Kinder, his teammate. So the number 21 is he went, whoa, he's way up top. Oh, stay off the wall there, John. Good stuff out of the number 21 machine, but he definitely lost a lot of time that he could have been making up by not hitting the apex of that corner anywhere near where he wanted to.
Nicholas Noggle down the pit lane. I was beginning to wonder, right as Justin Winters started to try and fight Adam Lancaster for that spot, if maybe the call from Huffy is, wow, Brian Terry nearly gets the left rear of the 88 car. I was wondering if maybe the call from Huffy was to try and get a lap lead, try and launch that 88 car into the position to take the race lead from Brandon Robertson when he inevitably comes back down the pit lane. It almost worked as well because these guys were 20 laps shy of it. I mean, it was definitely a shot. Might have been a shot in some dark situations, but it was a shot, and I commend the effort there because that would have nullified the advantage that Travis Miller currently has by having led those couple of laps. So I wonder if maybe that was on the mind as well, to just try and play the points game here with Travis Miller, because inevitably here the 22 going to pass the 88 car down to the bottom side of turns 3 and 4, and that is the pass to even this championship back up, if he can actually complete it. Justin Winters tries to fight back, and he's going to draft back in behind the 22. Does he go low or high? He sticks his nose up top, and, well, Miller then keeps the bottom side, and this fight will continue.
Nose to tail are those two. We're wondering how long it was going to take for Miller to catch up to the 88 Winters, and not long at all. Just about 30 or so laps as now he is back up there, evening out this championship fight with the advantage going to the 22 machine, as now Winters running high again off of turn number 4, has to let off a lot to keep it off the wall. He's going to lose a bunch of time to just Travis Miller, as now Miller going to try and chase down the 20 Adam Lancaster, who at this point again is kind of playing guardian for the 21 of Kinder to allow him to spread out that lead a little bit more as he tries to chase down Robertson for when he decides to pit. Robertson now exiting off of turn number 2. He is not that far behind of Justin Winters and Travis Miller, as now here comes Joshua Abbey to the outside. He's going to create a sandwich between those two, as now Miller actually is reeling into 28 and could see a fight going on here for the third spot.
Yeah, and you talk about Lancaster offering some buffer to his teammate John Kinder, but at the same time, obviously, with Miller and Winters this close to their tail ends, the championship hunt for John Kinder, it's a struggle right now, to say the least. For
Ed Osborne!
What was that all about? Ed Osborne just smashed the turn 3 wall on the outside.
Adam Lancaster!
Keep it square. Adam Lancaster just barely kept it going, but contact between those two Fords in turn 4. What is going on with this 555 machine? He hit the wall in turn 3 at the entry, and then made contact with Adam Lancaster. That was a squirrely situation there. As now Travis Miller has acquired a fight with Adam Lancaster as a result.
I can't believe what just happened. Door-to-door contact between Miller and Lancaster. Lancaster doesn't want to give that spot up, and I'm sure is not happy with the way that just went with Ed Osborne. Ed still crowded the 28 a little bit on corner exit. That was just a really bad string of, I don't even know. And now Travis Miller trying to fight to the bottom side. Ed Osborne not giving up in his own fight. He's fighting Joshua Abbey one more time for that lucky dog spot, maybe? No, actually, these guys are in the midst of a two-lap down battle. They're still fighting for position. That's what matters. As side by side go third and fourth place, Miller and Lancaster. Justin Winters behind these guys, just teasing us for a yellow and something really bad to happen.
Yeah, if a yellow does come out, that could change everything in this race. Remember, Lancaster, he had to use his fast repair earlier in the race after the first caution incident that he was involved in. So he is actually on what his car is going to be for the rest of the race. Now here comes Nago putting up a fight with the 88 Justin Winters back there. This whole field is starting to bunch up right here, and Winters is just backing up saying, I'm not getting involved in this. If you want to throw away a championship, you go ahead and do it. I'll just right back here and watch it all happen. As now Miller just still stuck right in the middle. He has nowhere to go. He has Lancaster in front of him, who is refusing to give up the third place position. He has Nago on the outside on fresher tires, trying to run away with it. He's going to probably clear them both here. Yes, he will. They'll clear that up. Here comes Abbey back to the top side to try and fight with Miller to create a gap from the 555 of Osborne, who has fallen off the pace. And now Abbey's just kind of running his pace now, which is going to hold up the 22 and bring the 88 back into this fight. So this championship is far from over, obviously, as now we're actually approaching 67 laps to go as the fight is still raging on. We're coming closer and closer to seeing that third caution come out.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, Noe, the whole thing happened right there. We saw Justin Winters back out of it a lot quicker to try to get away from that slew of cars than Travis Miller, but Travis is just right back out in front of him immediately. They've also now reacquired Adam Lancaster, and this is going to be a 3-car battle for the third position now, so long as Justin Winters wants to put up a fight, but he's holding back a little bit still. I think we're still on the same page that he's trying to get that car to the finish first and foremost. Adam Lancaster and the outside, and Travis Miller is going to get that position back. So third place, give it to the number 22 machine once more, but Justin Winters holding on to the tail in fifth position of Adam Lancaster. We're on board with Lancaster, and now we're on board with Justin Winters as they all go through 3 and 4 again. It's interesting to see how Winters backed out of it much quicker when everybody got all bunched up than Travis Miller, but at the end of the day, they're still right back together.
And it's a good thing that Miller got on by the 28 when he did, because if that battle had gone on any longer, he might have worn his tires out so much to where, honestly, I think Justin Winters could have kept up. Winters up the racetrack, and we've seen that one before, haven't we? It was on the other side of the racetrack out of turn number 4, but man, he got right up close to that wall. And these guys are just teasing us with drama, aren't they? Because we almost had some wrecking a few laps back. We almost had Winters get back into the wall, and man, these guys are just so on edge. They're all racing for their own little battles, as we mentioned. Of course, these guys strewn about for both battles in the race and battles in the points. Of course, Joshua Abbey's trying to overtake Wyatt Brackett. That would be for 9th place in the points. They come in 1 point apart. Daniel Worthington, he comes in 8th, and he has a shot to get up and maybe battle Adam Lancaster if this race goes differently. But right now, Lancaster looks like he'll even pass Wes Wiggenbach for 6th spot. Matt Grenier looks like he might hold on to 5th. Brandon Robertson, though, this race is looking like it just might be his. We mentioned it when he made his pit stop, his most recent pit stop some 49 laps ago. But this 2-car, I think, has worked this strategy out just perfectly. This is the kind of out-of-the-box thinking that we've been waiting to see from these drivers. We were waiting to see this kind of strategy thinking at Talladega from guys like John Winter, Adam Lancaster. We didn't see it. John Kinder, not John Winter. But we've been waiting to see this kind of out-of-the-box strategy, and as you so eloquently said, Joe, big brain moments. Finally, I think we're going to see it, and I think we're going to see it come to fruition, but there are still 70 laps to go.
Yeah, still a lot of racing left to go. You completed a majority of it, but you're still having to go for that final 70 or so laps, so there's still a lot left to decide here. Is now Robertson going to get around the 555 event? Osborne put him another lap down. As because of the fighting that's been going on between all of those drivers, that has allowed Robertson to close the gap down to those top 4 drivers. Lancaster entering turn number 1. Miller is now entering turn number 1 as well, so that he is quickly gaining on the championship contenders to put almost the entire field a lap down, just because of how aggressive they have been throughout the majority of this race. But the first one that would go a lap down is Justin Winters, who is actually the first car in front of Robertson. There's still a lot left to go on here. Here comes Wes Wiggin in the 188, going to put up a fight with the 38 of David Brackett. That is a fight for the 8th position. He's going to sail off into turn number 1. He will clear him. Here comes Nicholas Nago, now going to put up a fight around the outside. He's probably going to clear him as well as they get ready to set it off into 3.
And one of the things about Brandon Robertson's strategy, to throw it back there really quickly, is as these drivers fight each other for position, I think David Brackett's about to come into pit lane here, and yes, indeed, the England number 38 bringing it down to pit lane speed limit.
And this is early. He's got to go quite a while on these tires.
So he's going to be coming in very early here, so this is still a long stint to be putting in the number 38 machine. Maybe he's banking on a caution, or maybe he's thinking he's just going to run it out on this last set of tires and try to get just make it to the end. But we want to mention with Brandon Robertson, the thing that's helping him a lot more is as everybody behind him fights for position and races really hard on the surface, he's actually going to, not only is he going to gain time by them all racing each other harder, but they're going to use up their tires quicker than he is. So he can run a solid line that's consistent and smooth while the other guys go hard and use up the rubber they have on their Goodyear Eagles. and that will just exponentially help Brandon Robertson, not only with the strategy, but his ability to maintain a good speed on the surface to not lose time in between the pit stops.
And what's incredible right now is Brandon Robertson is actually catching the 88 of Justin Winters to put him a lap down. You see him up ahead. And this would really change the face of this battle. And these are older tires that the two cars on as well. So he's reeling in this 88 on 7-lap older tires. And really, I mean, these tires are just junk at this point. Robertson's been out there for now 55 laps, and he's nearing his pit window. We're at just over 60 to go, about 65. So he's got to go another 5 laps to make it 60 and 60 from where he pitted with 120 to go. So we've still got a ways for each of these drivers to go on these tires, and we're seeing how much these tires are wearing out. And of course, Brandon Robertson could still surprise us yet if he does pit early and mess up his strategy, but it's looking like he's got a pretty solid one going on there for the number 2 Toyota Camry.
Yeah, he's just really been minding his own business. I wouldn't be surprised at how bored he might really be. He's just been running by himself for most of the race. Obviously, he's been dealing with the lap traffic, but he hasn't had to worry about a single fight for position since he's really taken over the race lead, because he has a 23-second gap over the 21 of John Kender. Now, he's about to put one of the actual points leader as it stands right now a lap down. So that's just how fast he is. It just tells you how hard Winters has been fighting, because now he has worn through his tires, and now Robertson, who was on much older tires than even he is about to lap him, and that's really going to change a lot, because if a caution comes out, then Winters is in a very, very bad situation if he wants to go win this title.
Yeah, Winters is watching that one fade away, but I'll tell you, Brandon Robertson, we mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, his long-run car must just be hooked up, because he's continuing to run well over the course of these long stints. He's coming up on, he should be looking down within the next 10, 15 laps or so, going to the finish and finishing out his pit stops for the day, just be able to ride it out. And then, obviously, the rest of the field will have to follow suit shortly after that. But Brandon Robertson's car is absolutely hooked up. That car has been running really well over the course of these longer stints, which we've been getting, luckily for him.
Whoa, this is early for Justin Winters. I don't like this for the 88.
Yeah, so Justin Winters is going to be bringing it in really early here.
Yeah, this is super early for the 88 crew. This is letting one slip away, I think. This is really going to put this one on ice for the number 88 car. It's going to take a caution to bring him back into contention because, yeah, he's going to go put some time back on the 22 of Travis Miller, but he's in a really vulnerable spot.
Yeah, because of this, he's going to go 2 laps down to the number 2 of Brandon Robertson, who is already on the front straightaway. So now he is officially going to be 1 lap down in this race. And if, in fact, a caution does come out, then that is effectively going to be championship over for the 88, because he's going to need a second caution. And with the way the pace has been set for most of the race, that is more than likely not going to happen. So he needs to be as mindful as he can to try and get that lap back from the 2 tied Toyota in order to have any shot at being back in his championship, where he could lose it all with that 1 pit stop strategy to try and pull an undercut on the 22.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the one big thing for him is just whether or not Travis Miller follows him down the pit lane. We're on board with the 100 of Scott Fritz as he does so and comes in for some fresh rubber and some new fuel in that car. But Travis Miller, so long as he stays out for at least a shorter period of time here and leaves Justin Winters 2 laps down all on his own, that's the sort of thing that he does not, in respect to Justin Winters at least, that he does not need. And Justin Winters has been struggling a lot with keeping his car in contention throughout the course of this one. We know, we can see it in the YouTube chat especially. He's got a lot of support, a lot of people out here watching the broadcast and cheering him on. And we have a lot of appreciation for the people who come out and support these drivers here on the broadcast. Justin Winters trying to do good by everybody who's out here supporting him. But right now, that situation and that strategy move he just pulled, kind of iffy. We'll see as the race ends out how much it helps or hurts him.
Yeah, I mean, it's technically within the window of making it to the end. You know, he's not doing anything too crazy. In fact, here comes Travis Miller to limit the undercut that Justin just put on him. So Travis Miller going to get back onto the racetrack here, and it's only going to be a 2, maybe 3 lap difference for these two. In fact, Winters should be riding on by Miller momentarily. There he goes, and the gap is not nearly as large as it was before. This is man, this is going to be tough. But the thing
Robertson on pit road.
The thing that Travis Miller's got to consider is actually both of our leaders, Brandon Robertson and John Kinder, are down. The thing that matters for this championship now is Miller loses that big advantage that he had in having better tires at the end of the run and having the tires to catch up to Justin Winters. I don't like that move from Travis Miller either. You just took your advantage and you threw it in the trash. You had to keep going if you're the 22 car. This is really turning out to suddenly bring the 88 back into it.
Yeah, that could be a very costly mistake. Now both of them going to be 1 lap down as now Robertson exiting the pit lane. Here's Kinder now exiting pit road. He is going to keep his lap. So that is going to be a big news for him. If caution comes out, he could be back in the fight to take this race win. As now Robertson coming down to take it to the stripe to complete lap 211 of tonight's event. As now the fight's going to be between Winters and Miller, as actually Kinder has gotten passed by Justin Winters, so now he's going to have to try and fight them. So now there's a sandwich going on between the 22 and the 88, and that is involving the 21 of the Rims 1-4 Mustang of Kinder, who's probably going to get by him here in the next few laps just because of the pace that 21 car has been able to set. But it looks like even Kinder might have pitted earlier than most of us would have expected.
Well, as you say that, not only does Travis Miller set the fastest lap of the race and go purple as he's just got to cut around the outside of Scott Fritz right here through turn 2, but you also have to consider Brandon Robertson. I mean, he came into the pits and came out the leader, so that's just a big thing for the number 2 car. We're also looking at Matt Grenier, who now relinquishes the position, but he was running in second place for a while there. He's going to obviously lose some laps coming into the pit lane, and that's going to set him back significantly. It's now John Kinder. How about this? The drivers are starting to get a little pushy here as we come to about 55 laps left in this race and slowly closing in on 50 laps left in the race. They're starting to push it a little bit, and these guys are starting to put up purple lap times. John Kinder, the most recent to do so, and actually he gets past Justin Winters as they're battling out of turn number 4 for second position.
So it is a 4-point gap still for the championship fight, but Miller is closing in on Justin Winters, much to my surprise, actually, as they're going to pass Matt Grenier, and that is actually a separate battle entirely, I think. I don't think that's for position at all. Grenier pitted, and now they'll pass him to put him an extra lap behind them. But I'm really surprised right now that Miller's got the pace to run up to Justin Winters because they seemed so even all night long up until Miller had that tire advantage. I'm so surprised still that he looked that advantage in the eye and decided to just throw it to the side. I guess he wants to do it the hard way. I'm still just so surprised about that.
Yeah, obviously a really big surprise of him coming in that early compared to what he has been. Maybe trying to be in a better spot because he has about close to 40 laps to go. So maybe he's just trying to not be in a position where he has to short pit. It is a very weird scenario, but you never know what's going through the mind of these drivers. They obviously know more about their cars than we ever will, as now Miller setting it off into turn number 1, really closing on the gap quickly. So this championship fight is really starting to close up once more and be in the favor of that 22 Rim BRP iRacing Series 4 Mustang as he dives it back through turns 3. Winters actually with a wider entry going into turn number 3. That's allowed the 22 to catch up, and now we're going to see the fight on our hand for this championship as here this time by.
Yeah, and gee whiz, didn't that get close quickly? Travis Miller caught up a lot in the corner, and Justin Winters, I don't know what Justin Winters' line is really doing through 3 and 4. It's not the most, oh boy, here we go. Okay, so Travis Miller looked down the inside. Oh gosh, and he's right on the bumper, and down the inside goes number 22 finally. So wow, did it get close there through 3 and 4. They're still side by side out of the turn, and Grenier's going to put his nose into this. So we've got another car affecting the draft of these two championship contenders side by side again into turn number 1.
So Miller had a 10-lap advantage on tires the last time these guys were on the racetrack and racing one another, and he used up those tires almost to where they were a little bit more even. He still had those 10 laps, probably what would have been like an 8-lap advantage or a 7-lap advantage, even though he had used those tires up, and he was still able to pull away from winners. But Miller's got to be careful because he's gotten into a lot more of these side-by-side battles with random cars than Justin Winters has, and he's used his tires up at random points throughout this race. And if he does that again, that opens the door right back up for Justin Winters. As they stand, though, they are tied in championship points with Travis Miller earning a couple of bonus points, leading 19 laps earlier in this race. Justin Winters has not led yet in this race. And again, I think if I was Alex Huffman and I was calling the shots for Justin Winters, I would have tried to get him a lap led somewhere in the last 200 laps.
The final 200 laps of this event is just quickly going by as now here comes Miller down to the inside. He's going to get around the 33 of Wyatt Brackett. He's now going to try and close the gap down to the 113 of Daniel Worthington as they make their way towards turn number 3. He's going to try and open up that gap to the 88 Allen's Body Shop Chevrolet, as now only thing Winters can do right now is just watch that championship slip away as Miller begins to run away with the leaders. Oh, he gets caught up and gets held up at a 33 of Brackett as they make their way back down to the start-finish line, entering turn number 1, as the gap's still spreading more and more as they make their rounds throughout the rest of the race, as Robertson still holds on to the race lead with an almost 22-second gap over John Kender, but still this fight for the championship is not over just yet, but it's looking like it might be wrapped up here in a few laps if this thing goes green all the way to the end.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the real shame here is that it looks like Justin Winters' car just gets so tight over the course of the run that he starts having this issue where he's sliding all the way up through turns 4 and turns 2 towards the wall, as you saw behind Wyatt Brackett when he was trying to catch up and pass that lap car. It's just a shame to see that for Justin Winters. Obviously, you would think he'd try to fix that. Evidently, any efforts to try to help that car get out of the corners in the long run is not working for the Allen's Body Shop team. So unfortunate for Justin, but right as it stands right now, he's watching Travis Miller, and he's still got him in his sights. I think that's a motivator for the 88 team, that he can still at least see his main competitor in the championship. Obviously, Travis Miller, though, only a handful of laps better in terms of tire wear and use, but he's caught up to a couple cars in front of him now, which include, there's Daniel Worthington and Wes Wiggand. So he's going to pass those 2 lap cars now and put a couple more in between himself and Winters. And this is the type of thing Travis Miller needs to do to try to get that championship.
And Justin needs to be careful not to get too lax now. I mean, like you say, he's got to keep that 22 pretty visible up ahead, and he's also got to make sure that the 28 of Adam Lancaster doesn't catch him and really break this battle apart, because as they stand right now, it goes to the tiebreaker, which does go the way of Travis Miller, but even so, you just cannot let that battle get out of your hands. You've got to make sure you stay within striking range, but at the same time, he probably is saving his tires and maybe planning on a late run or late race charge, possibly something. Who knows what they're planning in that number 88 pit. They've been great at strategy most of the season. I mean, they made some great calls at Atlanta to win that race, and that's why Justin got back into this situation. I mean, he really, well, that was race 2, I suppose, but still, the first race out, the 88 looked strong, but that was Daytona. And Atlanta, again, looked strong. He got that race win, but then it was a big dry spell until, what was it Daytona or not Daytona? Talladega somewhere. I mean, it was a long ways until Justin picked up another dub. Finally, that brought him back into this championship. They've made some great calls all season long, some bad luck here and there. I'm now recalling that it was the Roval that Justin won at. It's just, I don't know. I think they've made some great calls in the pit lane. They're going to have to figure something out, though, to try and get back up to the 22 car. It's going to be tough. The gap is now up to almost 2 seconds, and Lancaster's closing.
Yeah, with Winters, that win at Charlotte really put him in a position that, with the tiebreaker, that he could have been in a great spot to win the title. But because of the fiasco with Martinsville, with Miller ending up getting that win in the end, that has now put him in a position where he can't rely on a tiebreaker, because if it does come down to that, then he loses the championship anyhow. So he's kind of the Carl Edwards in this scenario. If it ends in that he has to beat Travis Miller in order to win this championship. But right now, he's just watching that slip further and further away. And now at this this point, I would assume he's kind of just hoping a caution comes out, so that way he can go in, get the tires, and come back out and have another shot at this title. Because it seems to me that pit strategy has backfired on him, and he has lost a ton of time. That 22, almost a full set of corners from Travis Miller, as Miller is just running away with this cleanly, as now Lancaster is closing in on him to maybe put a nail in the coffin of what could be a title if he gets passed by him, because it's going to take a lot for him to even catch up to the 22 and now having to fight for position with the 28.
Yeah, the saving grace for the 88 team would certainly be a yellow at this moment in time. I think the only thing that's really going to help Justin Winters right now is getting off of old rubber, because we talked about old rubber is getting his car tight, and out of the corners he's having to check up. He's getting into trouble getting into the wall. He's done it before, and he looked like he got off. See, he looked like he got off of it good that time, but it's something that has been reoccurring for that 88 machine, to be sliding up the track as he comes out of the turns when the run goes long and the tires get wear down a little bit. Here we see Brandon Robertson. We haven't really been looking at him too much in these last handful of laps. That is because his lead is accentuously big, and he has been having no trouble at holding on to the front end of this field. The Tide Toyota has been running very well in the short run and the long run tonight. Brandon Robertson has been putting on a Class A performance of keeping this car up front, and through this extended length race, the full length event of the season, Brandon Robertson's been showing what he's got and strutting his stuff with this number 2 car that is still continuing to lead us through this race.
You know, Joe, I don't know if accentuously is a word, but I like it, and we're going to roll with it. It is a massive lead, I will say that, for Brandon Robertson. 20.1 seconds and gaining as he catches up to Justin Winters and will put the driver who comes into Kentucky, the championship leader, 1 lap down. And this is starting to salt the... Oh, almost contact for these two. Wow. And Winters up the racetrack. That was incredibly surprising that they got that close and almost made contact. But Winters likely going to be salted away if he goes this lap down, especially if he ends up losing this spot to Adam Lancaster. He's really got to fight for that spot now, because that's the lucky dog position, Noah.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line here. If he does in fact lose a position, that is essentially not only championship over because of the fact that gives Miller just outright the points to lead, but that also puts him behind on a lucky dog spot. So if a caution comes out, he has to stay out, which he can't afford to do, because if he does stay out and take the lap back, then he's going to have to wait and hope that another caution comes out in order to do it. But the way it all goes, we might not even have a caution for the rest of the race. So right now, Travis and Miller basically have this championship locked up as it stands, unless he makes a very costly mistake. With how spread out the field is and how smooth the pace has been for the entire field, I just don't see it happening. So Justin Winters is really going to need a miracle in order to open that title fight back up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is not the situation that the 88 team and Justin Winters wanted right now. They know that they need the fresh tires to have a chance to fight Travis Miller. They're also, another thing about that yellow would obviously be that he'd be able to catch up to the tail of the number 22 car, which he is unable to do at this current moment in time with the older rubber and the long runs that we've been having throughout the course of this race. But to have to be a lap down, to have to wait out a possible second yellow to actually come get fresh rubber and to be able to compete with the 22 car, the situation is looking pretty bleak for the 88 team. Obviously, there's plenty of time left in this race for something crazy to happen, and certainly anything could. You're on board with Adam Lancaster. He's trying to track down that 88 car. He wants to get that position for his own right and for his own championship efforts. Points for the 28 team is what he's after, and to do proud his sponsors. Ghostface obviously on that car, sponsoring him and helping out with the series with the Driver Who Needs a Beer award, which we so love. That's a really cool award for these drivers to be competing for out here.
To the inside goes Lancaster. That creates a 2-point gap between Travis Miller and Adam Lancaster. As weird as it might sound, it may be in Travis Miller's interest to go 1 lap down and take the lucky dog spot so that Justin Winters definitely can't get it, even if he races back past Adam Lancaster. I mean, that would certainly be a strategy at this point. I don't think he's going to slow down, and I wouldn't want to slow down either. But if Robertson gets there, I don't think it's really worth putting up too much of a fight, because it would actually help him out. in terms of points and in terms of icing this one away. And I'm just not so sure what this 88 team can do short of 2 yellows now. So that was almost a yellow. Contact ahead with Wyatt Brackett and Adam Lancaster.
Yeah, this is a lot going on here as now Lancaster has cleared him, so that will put him in a position that he has to go fight for that lucky out spot. But again, it's basically the Lightning McQueen scenario, if you remember from Cars 3. Fading fast, trying to run out there on old tires, trying to catch up to the guys on fresher tires that have been outpacing him all race, but he just can't do it. He's just fighting that car as much as he can, but he's just watching it all slip away from him after having such an incredible comeback to bring that championship fight in to take the points lead, and now just one costly pit stop strategy mistake, and it just all goes away. So this is a very bad situation for Winters to be in, and it's such sad to see after how well he has performed all race long and all season long for that matter.
Yeah, and so as you said that, Noah, I'm checking the chat here on YouTube, and we actually have Huffy, who is calling the shots for the 88 machine, commenting on his efforts this race to get Justin Winters a lap led. He tried to keep him out and get a lap led, but the killer for him was Brandon Robertson staying out ridiculously long in that number 2 machine is what Huffy had tried to counter with the 88's strategy, and Brandon Robertson obviously has been running that car for long periods of time, running it right down to the bare bones of fuel in the machine and down to the treads of the tire. And unfortunately for the 88 car, they just could not offset Brandon Robertson's amazing ability to make his car last throughout extended runs.
Yeah, exactly like I'd mentioned. I thought Huffy was trying to get him a lap led at one point when he undercut Miller by 10 laps. It just seemed like it almost had a shot of working, and it was a great effort, certainly, by the 88 team to try and get that bonus point, because that would really change things up. I mean, that would bring them back tied, or if he could have stayed ahead of Lancaster, that would have kept the championship in Justin Winters' hands. I mean, that would have changed the game entirely, and then the rest of this race is just a bit different. So it was a great effort. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out, and unless we have 2 yellows here, it's going to be tough for that 88 to get back into things. We'll have to see how it works out, obviously, because anything could still happen. We still have over 20 laps to go where this race can completely change in complexion, and everything can change. It could be turned upside down in every single possible way. I mean, we could have the entire top 10 wadded up, and I don't know, Joshua Abbey, Wes Wiggins, someone like that wins this thing.
Yeah, talk about that. Ed Osborne and Matt Grenier putting up a fight back there for position. It's not actually for any track position at all. It's just Ed Osborne putting up a fight with Grenier, who is running in 6. Those two are still door to doors. Look at that, a 3-car fight. As here comes Joshua Abbey sailing around the outside of Winters, as now he's going to take over that spot. Again, not for position. It's people with fresher tires than Winters going to come around and just sail right by him and take over the track position. And now you're on board with Wes Wiggins in that number 188, going to close down the gap and nowhere to go. He's going to have such a look at the amount of a run he has. I don't even know if the tires, maybe he just shoot him through trying to get gained on the 22. As really close call there between him and Adam Lancaster, between Abbey and Lancaster is now Lee making off of turn number 4. But these laps are winding down. These guys are really starting to put up a pace.
Yeah, they're 3 wide past the line right there again with Lancaster and Abbey going around the outside. Joshua Abbey has made this one kind of interesting, and I'll tell you, this whole race in general has been really interesting to see the different strategies that these drivers are pulling, and the separation of when all the tires coming down and get fresh tires. It's making it pretty interesting to watch, and a lot of passing on track, which is the type of stuff we like to see. It makes the racing exciting for us as commentators and for you guys as viewers as well. But for the current moment, Joshua Abbey is the one who has the fastest car. He is the one who got the freshest tires. And we're watching him come through 1 and 2. You can see how well those fresh tires allow him to run right on the yellow line through the 2 corners and take the shortest route possible at top speed to get through the corners. He's caught up to and is going to go down the inside of the race leader to regain one of his laps that he has lost over the course of the run here. So he will retain himself in 2 laps down. There's Nick Mills, who's slow on the apron. We'll have to see what happened with that car, if he's just coming in for a pit stop. The number 8 machine down pit lane, who's had an up and down day. And we're getting a replay here to see what has gone down with this car.
Yeah, he's very slow down the backstretch. Not really sure what happened to the number 8 car, but certainly not what he wanted to go on after he was up into the top 2. And he just pounds the wall a couple times. Oh my! What an aggressive hit. I'm surprised that actually didn't draw the yellow. I mean, he's pretty slow down on the bottom side of the racetrack right there. I'm thankful it doesn't bring out a yellow. I want to see how this all comes to fruition for all these different strategies. But, man, that was a vicious hit there for Nick Mills that just might end his race. Want to quickly reset everybody up on the race leader. Brandon Robertson has set an amazing pace since the second caution of the race some 220 laps ago, or thereabouts. Might even be 230 here in a lap or so. So it's been clean and green since our first couple of incidents, and I believe that second yellow was, in fact, Brandon Robertson getting the wall out of turn number 4, getting collected by John Kinder, and nosing it into the outside wall. This guy we thought was going to be out of this race. Since then, he's led 144, coming to 145 laps. This is insane. I can't believe the comeback, the race that Brandon Robertson has put on since that mistake.
Yeah, it's been an absolutely incredible run by the number 2 of... Oh, we got a big stack up there. Actually, Daniel Worthington, very slow at turn number 4. Looks like he got in the wall with Wyatt Brackett. Justin Winter was in the middle of that. A couple laps ago, he actually hit the wall himself. So a lot of mistakes going here. Worthington again in the wall.
Remember how we said this would be a race of attrition right here?
Well, yeah, these guys have been going at it for even close to 200 laps. Yeah, as soon as so the last time they were actually green flag or under caution was lap 18. It has been over 200 laps since these guys have seen a yellow flag come out. So just like we talked about early in the race, it was going to be a story of fatigue and attrition and trying to make this race. This is an endurance race for these guys just because of the fact that it's the full 400 miles and it's just starting to get the better of a lot of them and seeing a lot of mistakes being made, especially on turn number 4, which is such a hard corner in itself with these older tires later in the run.
Oh no! Oh my! What has happened? We have a yellow.
Brian Terry into 13.
Wow, these guys go over 230 laps green flag, and in the last 20, we've got a yellow. Brian Terry all sorts of wadded up in turn number 3. What this does not do is help Justin Winters. If anything, he just needed it to go green and have a mistake out of the 22 car. But if we get another yellow after this, and remember, cautions breed cautions, it could still help the 88 car. We'll see what happens here to Brian Terry out of turn 2. Oh my. Oh my. Oh my!
Oh, that was a hard hit.
We're gonna let the replay speak for this one. That's the kind of thing that who knows? Don't want to speculate about it.
Yeah, it's just a very rough incident for both those guys, and that's gonna really, really affect this race for a lot of guys. And now here we go. Kinder is now down on pit road. Robertson joins him as well. Miller is already signing to make the move. He's going to see the replay once more. Again, just let the replay speak for itself. There's really no excuse for that. No, honestly,
yeah, that was a heck of a move there. So let's check in on the pit stops here. Let's check out and see how they come off of pit lane when the pit stop sequence completes itself. So here you see Brandon Robertson. There's Travis Miller coming on into his pit stall. Robertson obviously going to be the first one out of the pits, as he was the first one into the pits and pretty substantially ahead of the rest of them there. Hopefully he is all set up and ready to go for the rest of this one. Your race leader, Brandon Robertson, that is. Adam Lancaster, Travis Miller, John Kinder, some other people. Actually, did Adam Lancaster come into the pits? I don't see the 28 machine. Is that him around the corner?
He would have taken the lucky dog right there. He was our lucky dog driver.
So yes, he was the lucky dog driver, getting a little caught out by the scoring, the situation with the scoring updating itself on screen as the yellow flag is unfolding. But so they come in and out as they did when they drove through. Actually, I think Yeah, Travis Miller jumped John Kinder.
Yes, he did.
And
John Kinder, a very slow pit stop. He's just now exiting and getting back onto the racetrack. Not sure what the deal was there. I'd imagine maybe repairing some damage. Keep in mind, he was in that initial incident with Brandon Robertson, and I doubt he's taken the fast repairs since. No reason to do so. So he's probably getting some last-second repairs here before the end of this race. He wants to go have a shot at winning this thing, but that does put Travis Miller into P2. Very, very interesting stuff. Before we lose our opportunity here, we want to tell you about permanent makeup and cryo in Maine. It's been quite a while since we updated you on our partners here at PitStop TV, and when it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. At Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, the owner, Ashley Boyer, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. You can contact Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine at permanentmakeupinmaine.com or call or text them even at 207-358-8683. If you are looking for the best solutions for your permanent makeup concerns, give Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine a call today to book a consultation. Want to remind you all as well that you can go to whiplash-media.com for everything Whiplash Media, our new parent organization that specializes in various sim racing resources including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing, camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services like photography, social media management, and public relations. Again, that web address, www.whiplash-media.com. We're inside of 15 laps to go. We're going to restart with just over 10 to go as we've had a caution suddenly halt the progress of this race after over 230 green flag laps. Guys, this has been an insane finish to an amazing Bluegrass iRacing Series season. What a season it's been, and what a finale.
Yeah, indeed. Just running over 200 laps under green flag, and now after what has been such an amazing season top to bottom, to now have to end on a 10-lap mad dash to the finish. I don't think there's any other better way to conclude this season. I do want to mention one thing that I saw while you're doing the iRacing. Justin Winters did come down pit road. Obviously, since he is a lap down, you might as well just go take the tires. But something I noticed, I'm wondering if he might get a penalty for it or not, he ran over the orange box entering pit road. I know you don't get a pit commitment violation, but I do know you might get a penalty for hitting that orange box for not having all four tires in there. So it could be interesting to see. As now, apparently, we don't get a penalty for that, as now they're going to get ready to go back racing here for the final 10 laps or so to conclude the season.
Yeah, so that little box basically just there for looks and for just to make the track look realistic, but in terms of gameplay, not making the difference in the race itself. So the field's lined back up, and we're definitely going to be watching these front three drivers, but we're going to be certainly watching the tail end of the field. All those guys back there could be part of the problem if cautions breed cautions, and if that sort of situation arises, the type of thing that could bring the 88 machine back into the championship hunt. He's going to need a lot of help from here, and the whole field as they come down and wait for the green flag to come back out. They're running off. It looks like Travis Miller got a really nice start on the outside of Brandon Robertson, and now he's actually going to be fighting for the race lead and possibly the win even here at Kentucky as they come through turns 1 and 2 again. Now they single file out, and the rest of the field, through the most part, looks to be trying to single file itself out a little bit in the mid-pack, still side-by-side racing. But Brandon Robertson through 3 and 4, he's continuing to lead this one.
To complete lap number 255 and go to lap 256, Brandon Robertson still leads this one. Travis Miller in tow. John Kinder third place. And we have Adam Lancaster, Matt Grenier on the lead lap as well. Just 5 cars on this lead lap. Just 2 cars 1 lap down. Those are Justin Winters and Nicholas Noggle. Justin Winters pitted that time. Nicholas Noggle did not. I believe he got a wave around to be 1 lap down. The fight for the top 3, for the win in this race. All kinds of tangled up with a 2:22 and 21, but it's looking like this championship just might be salted away if you're Justin Winters.
Yeah, it's just not exactly anything he wants to see. The field has now single file down. The only thing that they can hope for is a lot of these guys that are fighting for position back here in the mid-pack of the field make one small mistake. But if you look on the rear end of that number 22, you can just see it's just not going to happen. So all eyes now are on that 22 to see if not only he can take this championship home, but with that as well, the race win, and now have 4 wins on a season, and just put an exclamation point on what has been such an incredible inaugural season for the 22 team and for the Bluegrass iRacing series. Is now we're going to have now under 10 laps to go. We're going to see a fight for the race lead here, as now Miller is going to try and put the fight up to Robertson.
Whoa!
Oh, look at how close they almost. I think they made contact right there through 3 and 4. And it's amazing to see Travis Miller getting as close as he is to the tail of Brandon Robertson. We talked about how good that 2-car is on the long run, but right now it's not a long run. We only got 9 laps left in this event, and we've only been running a few since the green flag dropped again. Travis Miller really trying to use that car up. You saw him tap the yellow line on the inside of 1 and 2. He is pushing that car like mad, trying to stick with Brandon Robertson, because he knows just as well as we do, Brandon Robertson's car is set up to be exceptionally good. To get that out of my mouth. Exceptionally good in the long run, and Travis Miller is trying to capitalize on this short run that he's got on hand right here.
And if you're just joining us here for the last 10 laps or so, these 2 championship contenders, Travis Miller and Justin Winters, entered Kentucky this evening just 4 points apart. That's 2 positions on the racetrack with this double points finale format and double points race format just in general for each even numbered race. What that means is it was just 2 positions on the racetrack for Travis Miller to tie it up and actually win this championship, because he gets a tiebreaker by obviously having to pass Justin Winters and therefore finish higher than Justin Winters and win that tiebreaker. So it was really just down to beating that 88 car and leading a lap. He did exactly that before this caution flag came out, but now the 88 trapped 1 lap down, widening that gap. It's up to somewhere around 10 points or so, but really what matters is that the 22 is ahead. He has plenty of cushion to boot, and what's interesting to me is Travis Miller could employ the old pre-2014 Jimmy Johnson strategy, where you just ride to the end here. You've got the championship as long as you keep the car in one piece and don't have a yellow flag. That's important as well. But he is racing for this race win, and I like that.
Yeah, he's like, I don't even care if I have the championship. It's already locked up for the most part, as long as he just keeps it off the wall and keeps it off the 2. But he wants that win. He wants that 4th win sticker. He wants to be known as really having won this championship by not only just beating him because of a bad pit call that trapped him a lap down, but to also win the race and have 2 more wins than Justin Winters, just to put an exclamation point saying there was no argument on who the better driver was throughout the season, as now he's still on the back bumper of the number 2, who has been unrelentless this entire race. He had his entire strategy ripped away from him because of a late race caution, and now he is proving that he was faster already without the pit strategy, as he has been holding off the 22 since the restart, and just haven't even really seen him make a pass for the lead yet since that restart has came about.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see here as this run goes. Obviously, this is a much shorter run than we have been seeing so far with the 60 to 70 lap runs in between pit stops that we've had earlier in this race. But it'll be interesting to see how well Travis Miller holds on. You can see he's kind of fading slightly off the tail end of the number 2 car as it come past and get 3 laps to go here at the stripe. Robertson's still holding on to that race lead, and like we said, is Travis Miller going to try to push it, or is he going to try to pull a Jimmy Johnson 2014 strategy and just ride out to the finish this race and take the championship from 2nd place? Obviously, everybody wants to come in and win week in and week out, but maybe the strategy and the, as I've said before, the big brain move might be to just try to stick it out behind the 2 car right here.
Well, of course, Travis doesn't have to win, but it helps. And he's trying to put a pass here on the number 2 of Brandon Robertson. Nose to tail, almost gives him a bit of a shot in the shorts. He gets right to the back end of Robertson, the New Englander, and Travis Miller, sponsored by the BRP iRacing Series is trying to go from dirt to asphalt and win a championship and a 4th race on the season. Out of turn number 4, the white flag flies on the 2 and 22, and they are going to race things out. Noah Carrias to the finish of the Bluegrass iRacing Series.
To the outside they go. Travis Miller finds the position. He's going to get him. Will he try to pull the crossover off of turn number 2? Not going to happen. He's going to tuck in behind him, and that might just do it unless he does one more dive to the inside. Yes, he does, but the door is going to close. Out of turn number 4 for the final time. Robertson goes up high. Here comes Miller down the inside. They're going to go door to door to the finish. It's going to be a drag race to the line. It is going to be Travis Miller.
You're kidding me!
Miller steals it. He steals the win, and he wins the championship in the season finale.
Wow! What a race to the finish line right there, and that was awesome stuff out of the number 22 machine. That must feel really good. Out of turn 4, he just came down on the inside and used as much of the track as he could to shorten it to the finish line, used his momentum, just barely beat the 2 to the line.
By 0.1 thousandth of a second, Travis Miller steals the win away from Brandon Robertson and takes his 4th win of the season, and along with that, the series championship, as now he's going to burn it down here in the Bluegrass State and celebrate this championship in style.
Incredible stuff for Travis Miller. He didn't have to go and fight for that race win. He didn't have to sell Brandon Robertson that dummy, but he does. He somehow beats that 2 car back to the line in an epic drag race. It's not the first time we've seen a drag race in one of these 1.5s this season. Incredible stuff here for Travis Miller. He is burning it down here at Kentucky Speedway. I cannot believe that finish. And I mean, he had the championship once that white flag flew, unless something really weird happened. But that was just incredible stuff from Travis Miller, and that shows why he is the Bluegrass iRacing Series season champion.
Just think about this, though. 400 miles, 267 laps, and it comes down to a last turn move and a huge run to the straightaway that ends up with this win. You cannot write a season finale any better. And to the victors goes a spoil, as now Miller is going to get to take home all the hardware here in Kentucky to wrap out the championship. And keep in mind, Monday night he has a race in his own league to get ready for the sprint cars, which will be live here on PitStop TV as well. So he doesn't have that much turnaround time to get ready for another league season. But man, he's going to have to celebrate this weekend in style, as this has been such an incredible run by this 22 car ever since the get-go, with that incredible run with the lap going from 3rd to 1st on the last lap to win the season opener in Daytona, and then he wins the season finale in Kentucky.
To quickly add to that, Noah, and I'm sorry, Joe, but to quickly add to the fact that it came down to that last corner, Brandon Robertson led almost 167 laps, almost all but just 100. He led so many darn laps of this race, and it's just in the last few hundred feet. That is incredible, and that's got to be heartbreaking, of course, for the driver of the number 2 to be so good all night long, and it came down to that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Andrew. That just must be heartbreak city for the number 2 team, but I'll tell you what, that finish and the way this race has turned out, it just really shows you the quality and what's going on with the Bluegrass iRacing Series. We talked about how great the field is, the competition, the drivers, their respect and their skills that they bring to the racetrack every week. And to have the opportunity to bring this series to these respective streams here on the internet and show everybody what this series is and what it's made of, I think this has been an excellent way to finish out the season, not only in terms of excitement for us as spectators, but as a way to summarize what this season has been for these drivers and the racing that we've seen, the close fight in the championship that has continued to hold strong over the last races of the season. This race just does a great job of showing what the Bluegrass iRacing Series has been all about from race 1 to race 12.
And on top of that, we're going to talk to these drivers and find out even more about what the Bluegrass iRacing Series is about and find out their opinions as to how this final race on the season went down. It all came down to this and a final race pass for the points lead, a final corner pass for the race win. It all just comes together for the driver of the number 22, winning the first and last race and a couple in between. Travis Miller wraps things up with a championship. We'll be talking to him and more, including second place championship finisher Justin Winters very, very shortly. Do not go anywhere. This is only the beginning of our post-race coverage here of the Bluegrass iRacing Series season finale and championship deciding race from Kentucky Speedway. We got a lot more on just the other side.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Welcome back here to Kentucky Speedway for the second to final post-race show, as many of you might be aware. Next, we're not done yet. Even though this is the season finale, we still have one incredible all-star race to come up to next weekend. But of course, this is the season finale, and we have a couple of drivers to talk to. But first off, we're going to bring in the man of the night, Mr. Travis Miller. You take the win in Kentucky in the final lap and the final turn, and on top of that, you are a champion. How does that sound?
It sounds pretty good. I can't believe it, to be honest. Brandon and John were the class of the field all day, and I just like halfway through the race, I was getting pretty bummed out because Justin was really good, and I didn't think I had enough points to get by him there, and it just it was a roller coaster of emotions the entire 267 laps, that's for sure.
Well, from the get-go, since lap 18, you guys went green for over 230 laps. How tiring and fatigued does that feel to have gone green that long, and then on top of that, have to deal with a 10-lap dash to the finish to decide the winner of that race?
Yeah, it sucked, to be honest. I kept wanting a caution, and then near the end of the race, I didn't want a caution anymore. I was praying that we didn't get one just to kind of secure it. I didn't really care if I got the win or not. And then the caution came out, and I was like, all right, well, it's our chance to do it. And then Brandon and I both slipped up in one corner, and then the next, like on the last lap, we just we took two totally different lines, and we just battled out to the line, and luckily we came away with the win.
And then we just want to talk about that last corner effort there, where you talk about running the different lines. Just take us to turns 3 all the way to the start finish line on how you were able to pull off that much of a run to win it by less than a tenth of a second.
Yeah, so we're coming into 1 and 2. I knew that I lifted and just kind of got the run on the back straightaway, and I knew that he was going to block my line on the bottom. It's like the slider line, kind of just to kill my momentum, and so I just made it look like I was going real deep, and then I just checked way up while he fanned to the wall, and I was able to get enough of a run off the corner, and we were lucky enough that he didn't side draft me on the front straightaway, and I was able to get the win.
And not only did you get the win, but obviously you did lock up the championship with that. Just take us and what you would say of a summary of the season, because you win it in a thriller at Daytona, you run solid all season. Just kind of, what is the final thoughts that you have on the inaugural Bluegrass iRacing series here tonight?
Yeah, it was a good season. About halfway through, I was getting pretty bummed out because I had a great season. I didn't even have a finish. I was outside the top 10, and I was still second in points. So I was kind of getting a little frustrated with that, and then I just decided if I just keep plugging away, maybe something will happen. And I was pretty much a nervous wreck all day waiting for the race to come tonight, and then luckily it pulled off. We were able to pull it off, and I just can't thank my spotter Pat Reiser enough for all he did for me throughout the year. He wasn't with me tonight, but he was a big help all through the year, and I can't say enough about Brandon and Justin and just the guys that we race against in this league. They're some of the classiest drivers I've ever raced against, and it was an honor to race against them.
And before I let you go here to celebrate a championship season, who do you have to thank for the entire season that you've had in all 4 wins this year?
Yeah, I just got to thank my friends and family and my girlfriend for supporting me every week and, watching the streams and just asking me about how it was going. And I got to thank the BRP iRacing series for all they do for me on and off the racetrack. Gaston's Auto Sales, he's been a big part of my real life racing career and virtually, so I got to thank him. Precision Auto Clinic, Bicknell Racing Products, and you guys for putting this on, and the Bluegrass guys for running the league, because it wasn't a bumpless season, but there's always going to be bumps in the road, and when you start a new league, and they were able to pull it off pretty well, and I just got to thank those guys.
All right, well, congratulations on the win and the championship, and hopefully we see you next week for the All-Star race.
Yeah, for sure, guys. Thanks, I appreciate it.
All right, that's going to wrap it up from our season champion. I'm going to hand it over to Andrew, who will be talking with our runner-up, Mr. Brandon Robertson.
And Brandon Robertson, in every sense of the word, dominated this race, leading almost all but 100 laps here at Kentucky Speedway. Brandon, I know it's not the results you want, but to lead 162 laps in the final race of the season, it's still got to feel pretty darn good and show that you are one of the favorites next season out.
Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, I appreciate it. First of all, thanks. Congrats to Travis, who had a heck of a battle there toward the end, and man, he pulled it off. I couldn't even believe it. But as far as leading all them laps, it really just came down to strategy. Honestly, I don't think I was the fastest by any means, but I knew if we were going to get a caution around lap 15 to 16 to 17, I was going to try to do 3 stops from there, and I didn't mean to be the caution, but that happened, and we pretty much just executed the whole way through and got that late race caution. And as you know, anything can happen at that point. I completely forgot how to drive the car, on qualifying laps, so I was kind of at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, it ended up being that you were the second caution of the race, then you led almost the entire run after that. It seemed like it was just you and John Kinder leading the laps. We were trying to decipher the strategy all race long, but by the end of things, it looked like your number 2 was going to wrap that one up, and you had 20 seconds back to John Kinder. What was the exact play that you guys were trying to make in that number 2 camp?
I just do my homework ahead of the race, and I know exactly how long I can run on a fuel run, and I just do some reverse calculations ahead of the race, and if I get a pit stop right around then, it really does make sense to skip on the pit stop. I knew it was running long every time, and if you get a caution midway through, it kind of blows the whole plan apart. But if we didn't get that caution, it was definitely in the bag. I think I could have kept going another 6 or 7 laps, but no, it's a little disappointing, but it definitely made it exciting in the end.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it looked like it was all your race, then suddenly you had to defend Travis Miller. What was the strategy there? Just trying to fight him to the end, and how were you trying to beat that 22 car, and then what happened in that final corner?
Oh, no problem. Yes, I forget how many laps we had. I mean, I will admit I'm not the I don't even know where I qualified, but I'm not the fastest on this track with fresh tires, and I just was trying to think back as to how to make lap time with fresh tires on a restart, and I knew you could, pin it through turn 1 and 2 and just hold the bottom, and then 3 and 4 you had to let off. And coming down to the last lap, I kind of made a memory lapse. He dove down to the bottom, and I wanted to drive it in a little hard so he couldn't somehow get to me. And I just left the bottom slightly open, and I still thought I'd be able to keep the momentum up on the high side and make it to the end. But it's just I think it was 0.1 or 0.016 ahead of me. So yeah, that's about one bumper.
Yeah, just 1/100th of a second, 16 1,000ths is all it came down to for you two. You're likely, I would assume you are into the, actually no, you have 2 wins, so you are definitely into the All-Star race next week. Going to Bristol, you were pretty darn strong there as well. Obviously things came up and your race didn't quite pan out like maybe you wanted it to, but how do you look forward to a place like Bristol for the All-Star race?
After Martinsville, honestly, I don't want to go back to another half mile, to be honest. I kind of like just doing some laps out here all alone. It was a lonely race, and that's fine by me. So, we'll just strap in and do some practice laps and see what happens. I mean, Bristol's interesting. It's just high line dominant, and it's impossible to pass on the low side, but we'll see who gets the lead and controls the restarts there, and hopefully we can get out front and just control restarts and win the race.
Absolutely. Brandon, it was an amazing season for that number 22. Not the championship season that maybe you were looking to try and come back and have after missing a couple of races, but nonetheless, an amazing run in that number 2. Who do you have to thank here in the final points race of the Bluegrass iRacing Series season?
Obviously, Jason and Nick for putting this together. I mean, this is my first series against, racing against the same people every weekend, and same place, same time every weekend. So that was interesting. That's honestly, I've just done pickup races on iRacing service. So this was definitely fun and made you work for it. And and also shout out to Matt for getting a top 5 today. That was pretty cool.
Brandon, once again, a pretty dominant close to a season. Not the win you wanted, but still showing yourself as a champion next time out. Congratulations to you on a season well done, a race well done this evening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And with Brandon Robertson then finishing second place, we had a championship battle that was surrounding him all evening long, Joe Donahue, and it ends up culminating in a very interesting battle that Justin Winters simply wasn't a part of. Unfortunately, the number 88 mired back a lap down, and you've got him trackside.
Yeah, so we're going to bring Justin Winters in here, and I'm going to get to speak with him about the ending of this season. Justin, this is Joe Donahue. Do you got me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Justin, long race, a lot of strategy. Things didn't quite work out for you. At the end of the race there, got caught out a lap down. You want to talk us through, just at the end of the race, what was going through your head?
Oh, just trying to hang on to the car. These guys are a little bit better at saving their tires than I was. So therefore, I kind of did 2 or 3 different strategies in the middle of the race. I had one strategy, then I saw another strategy work that Brandon was able to pull off. Kind of adopted it in a sense of the matter. I just wasn't good at saving tires as good as some of these guys was, and it was a roller coaster of a race.
Yeah, we had seen that. It seemed like you got tight a couple times there, and you actually got into the wall. The ones, especially at the start of the race, it seemed like you had to go in and get some damage fixed. You were just struggling with, I assume you're just struggling with tire wear and the car getting tight over the course of the run. Was there anything you could try to do, or anything you had tried to do to try to fix that?
I changed my lines. We found a little bit of speed in the middle of 3 and 4, but at the end of the day, we lost track position early. Qualified on the pole, which was good, and then got taken 3 wide on turn 1 or turn 2. And ever since that, I didn't really get back up there to fight with the guy I ran, I think, P3, P4 all night. Kinder and Brandon was definitely the class of the field. And then Travis made a move at the end of the race to show how good he is and how clutch he is at some of these racetracks.
Yeah, that is fair. And absolutely, we talk about also, this was the first and only full-length race of the season. Just talk us through, how did you prepare for the fact that you're going to be going 400 miles here on the simulator? Surely you got some mental strain and some eye strain you're dealing with now at the end of this one.
Absolutely. It's not very many times that we race a full-length race on here. So basically just mentally, you get mentally prepared to, I guess, to prolong the ups and downs of the race. I promise you that during this race, I probably got happy, mad, sad, glad. But preparing myself, I just practiced, and I kind of took the day away from it yesterday. And this morning practiced a little bit more, but I need to practice some more, I think.
Well, certainly, and there's always the chance for redemption in a season 2 here for the Bluegrass iRacing series. So we'll quickly just ask how you feel. You've gone through the whole 12 race calendar for season 1 of this Bluegrass iRacing series in championship contention. We've talked to you a couple times here with podium finishes, and even got some wins to your name throughout the season. How do you feel now that the season's gone through? What are your thoughts on the racing that you've been a part of here with the series?
It was very fun, start to finish. Racing with these guys is a blast. Having the championship battle was something that I've never really been a part of in racing before, so that was pretty cool. All the feelings about, hey, you might win a championship, but coming runner-up isn't nothing to shy away from. So it was fun, competitive, clean. I think that's all you can ask for in a season-long racing with a bunch of new guys that we all kind of met in this league.
I agree 100%. I've thoroughly enjoyed it from our perspective as well. And Justin, we know it's been a long night. We're going to let you go, debrief, settle down for your evening. But before we do that, do you have anybody else you want to thank or anything else you want to mention here on the broadcast before we relinquish you to go get a beer and calm down from this one?
Absolutely. Like always, I want to thank Alan's Body Shop for being on the car. My Uncle Alan owns a body shop in Morganfield, Kentucky. Couldn't have done this without him, and I dedicate this season to him. Boots and Manufacturing for being on the car. Huffman Designs for designing the car. You guys for putting on a great broadcast all year. Bluegrass, Jason Collins and Nick Mills for bringing all this together and making kind of their thought realistic. And just thanks to all the guys that competed in it. It was a blast.
Absolutely. We've enjoyed it just as much, and we appreciate you coming out and supporting this series and allowing us to take part in the fun as well. So, Justin, congratulations. Second place in the championship. Nothing to shy away from, as you said. And congratulations. Hopefully you have a good night here, and hopefully we'll be seeing you again and maybe talking to you again at the All-Star race next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for everything that you did this season.
Well, there you go, Noah. That's your rundown at the end of this one. And it's been a fun night. We've had 400 miles of iRacing action here to broadcast for all of you to enjoy on the stream. But it's been a good one, and it definitely came down to the wire. I think that really summed up the season really nicely.
Indeed, it has. 400 miles all to be settled within a 10-lap dash to the finish to wrap out what has been such a thrilling season top to bottom. And with that, we do have a race result to go through for the final race of the season. Obviously, Travis Miller, your winner and your champion, he takes the win at Kentucky. Brandon Robertson, who led over half the race, rounds out in second. John Kinder finishes third in the championship. He finishes third on the race tally. Adam Lancaster's teammate rounds it out in fourth and at number 28. Matt Grenier rebounds to a fifth place finish for the night. And then Justin Winters back there in the 88 finished second in the championship, dropped one lap down. And then Nicholas Noggle, the number 08, rounds it out in seventh, the last car, one lap down.
Eighth place goes to Wyatt Brackett, 2 laps down here. It's going to be Joshua Abbey in the 9th place position, Ed Osborne in 10th, 3 laps behind the race leaders. Further back, Wes Wigand in 11th, Scott Fritz in 12th position, 4 laps down, Joe.
Yeah, so after him comes the Daniel Worthington number 113 car, also finishing 4 laps down. 14th position for Chris LeBourgeois, and then 15th, Brian Terry being 7 laps down. LeBourgeois scored 6 laps down. David Brackett in the number 38 came home in 16th position at the end of this one. And behind him was Nick Mills, a full 27 laps behind. Josh Reinerson made an attempt at a run and at one point came into the pits and parked it for the night. 134 laps behind it will be where he finishes in 18th. And rounding him out, the first person to DNF from tonight's broadcast, Ronnie Shirk Jr. in the number 7 car.
And that is going to wrap up the race results. But before we do that, we do want to thank some of our sponsors one last time. As I try to pull that up, sadly it went away from me throughout the middle of the race. So here it is right here. First up on the list is the BRP Tucson Sound Art. Your picture, your music. You provide the image you want, and we will custom create a beautiful framed, high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. With Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. Visit TucsonSoundArt.com for additional information. Next up, we also have the BRP iRacing Series. The BRP iRacing Series is a series run and owned by Northeastern Big Block modified drivers, crew guys, and fans. If you're looking to get into dirt racing or already are, this league is for you. BRP is a fixed setup league that runs 3 60-winged sprint cars and pro late models. The BRP iRacing Series will be adding the Big Block Modifieds to their series lineup upon the release on the iRacing.com service. You can find BRP on their Facebook page, the BRP iRacing Series. And be sure to stay tuned, as this Monday night, we will be covering the Sprint Car 360s as they get ready to start their new season live here on PitStop TV. Also, the thing is permanent makeup and cryo main. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care the money can buy. At Permanent Makeup and Cryo Main, the owner Ashley Bullier is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized care. You can contact Permanent Makeup and Cryo Main at permanentmakeupandmain.com or call/text them at 207-358-8683. If you're looking for the best solutions for your permanent makeup concerns, you have Permanent Makeup and Cryo Main. A call today to book a consultation. If you visit their Facebook page, Permanent Makeup and Cryo Main, you can enter one of their monthly giveaways. Enter today, and who knows, you might just win. And then lastly, to round out our sponsors is Whiplash Media, PitStop TV's new parent organization. Whiplash Media specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services such as photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com for more. And lastly, we want to run it through points before we wrap it up here tonight. Finishing out the point standings, obviously your points leader is the number 22 of Travis Miller, who rounds out the season with a 432 point lead. Actually, 400 with the 10 bonus points, that rounds it out to 442. He will finish this with a 10-point gap to Justin Winters, who rounds it out in second at 432. Rounding it back in third spot, 26 points back, is the number 21 of John Kinder. Matt Grenier climbs his way up to fourth with 347. He finishes in fourth in the number 15. Adam Lancaster, after his win at Talladega, will finish it off fifth with 340. Back there in sixth is where you're going to find the 188 of Wes Wiggin. Seventh is where you're going to find Brandon Robertson. Eighth is going to be the 33 of Wyatt Brackett. The ninth is going to be the 08 of Nicholas Snuggle. And the rounding out the top 10 points is going to be the 05 of Joshua Abbey.
Behind Joshua Abbey is, of course, going to be the number 113 of Daniel Worthington, wrapping up his season in 11th position. And he actually uses his 10-point bonus for running the entire season. He's actually tied with Daniel Worthington. And it's interesting. These 10-point bonuses, Noah, actually catapulted a few drivers ahead to make some differences in the final standings. Grenier used it. Let's see, I believe Wiggin also used it to get an extra position. And this whole string of drivers, Brackett, Noggle, Abbey, and Worthington in 11th, all used theirs to actually catapult further away from Scott Fritz, who misses just one race. That was Atlanta Motor Speedway. He finishes 12th in the points, and oh, what it could have been if he had made that one race in Atlanta. He could have passed all those guys in points and had the bonus to maybe even climb even higher. Brian Terry makes every race. He finishes 13th in the point standings, and let's see, he's got actually a sizable gap back to Brian Terry. You saw that incident with he and Chris Bourgeois. He beats out Ed Osborne for 13th position, while David Brackett finishes 15th in the points. Further back, you got guys like Jack Bauer in 16th, Nathan Maurer in 17th, Nick Mills in 18th, Chris Bourgeois in 19th, and Brandon Young, we didn't see a whole lot of him, unfortunately. He wraps the season up in 20th position in the points standings.
Yeah, and some of those other drivers that we saw in the part-time stages of the championship would be Joshua Miller in 21st, Tanner Webb in 22nd, Ronnie Shirk Jr. in 23rd. Tyler Johnson finished 24th on the season with a victory to his name. And then 25th spot in the championship hunt was John Smith, who hasn't been on track in 8 weeks. But these drivers, just some of the examples of part-time entries who did a couple races with us here in the Bluegrass iRacing series, put up some points, and came home in the top 25 of the championship.
In total, 38 drivers made a start in the Bluegrass iRacing series this season for the inaugural season, and we have been thankful enough to get to cover every single one of them from start to finish. And to be honest, it's been an incredible season from top to bottom. They've had highlights, we've had incredible finishes, close contacts, incredible wrecks, thankfully on a simulation service so no one gets hurt in the end. And then wrap it all up, a tight championship fight that came down to 3 possible drivers to win the title coming into the final race of the season. And now we get to go to Bristol next week for what should be a thrilling all-star race where all gloves come off and they get to have fun one more time and just enjoy the last race of the season at the last great Coliseum. Andrew, Joe, do you guys have any final comments on how you can describe how this entire season has been? Because I know Andrew's been here for just as many races as I have, if not more. So I know you have been here for quite a while to see all this turn out.
Well, I missed a few in between. I think Charlotte was one of those and some others, but it's been an amazing season. Can't thank the Bluegrass iRacing series enough for bringing us on and allowing us to produce all 12 race streams to all of you fans at home. I know a lot of you guys are, tuning out for the evening. Of course, we've been droning on here for a little bit, but just the thanks goes to everybody. We mentioned those partners that we have: the BRP iRacing series, Tucson Sound Art, Permanent Makeup and Cryo Man, Whiplash Media, but also the Bluegrass iRacing series, a huge partner of ours, and has really pushed us to do several new things here at PitStop TV, and always pushing us to always improve our product that you guys watch week in, week out. So just a big thanks to everybody, a big congratulations out to season champion now Travis Miller. It's incredible anytime that a driver puts any kind of season together and is able to cap it off, I think, pretty happily, especially in the fashion that he did it tonight. That last lap pass for the win. Again, he didn't need to win, but it helped, and he claims his championship. I can only imagine what Season 2 has for us in store, but we still got to go to Bristol next week, Joe.
Absolutely, and we're looking forward to the All-Star race. I'm really looking forward to seeing those guys duke it out in an all-out, just racing for wins. No points, no championship, no nothing for these guys. Some of the best talent that I have ever personally been graced to see competing on a regular basis on the iRacing platform. It's been an awesome experience from my end as well. This is my first opportunity to work here with PitStop TV and broadcast these races onto the streaming services that respective fans and interested colleagues get to watch the races on. It's been a pleasure to meet all of the great people of this series, to have talked with drivers like Travis Miller, Justin Winters, Tyler Johnson, Brandon Robertson, people like that throughout the course of the season. Jason, one of the league owners, is an awesome guy. He's just a great person to work with, and it's been a pleasure to get to know all of these people. I'm really excited to see what the future holds for all of this. It's been an awesome experience. I want to take the opportunity to thank PitStop TV for having me on and bringing me into such a great series, and obviously thank the Bluegrass guys for not only putting on a good show for us, but also allowing us to take part, keeping us involved, and allowing this to all come to fruition. It's been an awesome experience, a great way to spend my Wednesday nights, and hopefully the same goes for everybody else.
It absolutely has, and I just want to add one more thing to this broadcast as we close out an amazing season. I don't often, as I'm always here, and I'm always doing parts of these things in some way or some form, but I don't always get a chance on air to thank all of my guys here at PitStop TV. Of course, I'm sure people kind of recognize my voice in some way. I'm Andrew Cardinale, but the stars of this show all season long have been guys like Noah Carmichael, who's been here through every single race. He's gotten to lead a few. I know he wants to move up in the ranks here at PitStop TV, and he is putting some seriously hard work into it. That's why he's leading this post-race show. That's why he led last week at Martinsville. Noah's been improving ever since we brought him in back in, I don't even know when, in the spring. He's been a great asset here to PitStop TV. Guys like Joe Donahue, who has been a tremendous help as well, being here right with Noah Carmichael through each of these Bluegrass iRacing series broadcasts, and hopefully, Joe, some others. We're going to get you involved in some others as well, but you guys have been great voices of the Bluegrass iRacing series and will be moving forward. You guys have been amazing assets here to PitStop TV, and of course, guys like Trey Shuttlesworth, who is now well versed in every part, as we found out last week at Martinsville, of broadcasting here at PitStop TV. He has been another great asset to add here, and always improving his work as well. He's who brings you a lot of the social media updates on Facebook and YouTube, and he's a big reason that we are improving and increasing our social media reach and just our reach in general. I want to thank each and every one of you guys, as well as anybody else who was on air with us or helping out, be it social media, whatever. I know Trey Patton was in some races as well. I want to thank Trey Patton for his hard work every time he's on air with us. Just everybody at PitStop TV. We're adding new people to our lineup as well. And of course, by all means, hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're watching from. If you want to get involved, you can also email me directly at andrew@pitstoptv.com. And it's always one of those kind of feel-good moments. You just want to build a team together and just have a good night for these championship races like this one here for the Bluegrass iRacing series. And I just wanted to get that little bit out of the way and thank you guys on air.
I don't think I could have said any better myself. It's been such an incredible season. Obviously, there might not be too many people watching because, 400 miles, people are probably tired. I know I am. But, it's the first race. I remember Lucky Dog at Okayama. It was me, you, and I believe Cole was the third person. He's not with us anymore. But it's been an incredible ride, and to be a part of this series, it's honestly one of my favorite, along with the Lucky Dog series. Just an incredible group of guys who put on an incredible show week in and week out, and have been such a tremendous help to not only us, but to just what we were able to do, because they don't have, because for instance, a lot of these drivers that you see interviewed, they don't have to do it. They could easily just leave and go to bed, but no, they want to. They enjoy being able to go out here and give a shout out to all their sponsors, and we couldn't be able to do it without their help, especially with people like Jason Collins. Like Joe said, he's an incredible guy to work with. He's had to go through a lot this season to make this all happen, and to end it out like this, I think it goes out on a high note to say just how much you can really do with a league on iRacing. And then on top of that, all our sponsors like Tucson Sound, or like the BRP iRacing Series, Permanent Makeup in Maine, and so forth. Just all the guys that come in week up and week out with all this, and it's just incredible to be a part of it. I can't wait for next season, and just to have one more great show to wrap out season 1 at Bristol next week. And it's just a great thing to get to go through. But with that being said, I think it's time for us to conclude our coverage tonight of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. We have PitStop TV. Thank you for tuning in all season long, and we hope you enjoyed this year's broadcast. Be sure to join us again Sunday night for the Superior Class Auto Racing at Watkins Glen International, and then join us Monday for the BRP iRacing Series season opener, and then Tuesday for Operation E Motorsports Racing League presented by Recaro, the season finale at WeatherTech Laguna Seca. And also be sure to join us Wednesday night for the Bluegrass All-Star Race. And then make sure to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/PitStopTV, on Twitter at PitStopTV_, and on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV, and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/c/PitStopTV1, or just by simply searching PitStop TV. For all of PitStop TV, this is Noah Cargill in the booth, Joe Donahue on the mic, Trey Shuttlesworth on social media, and Andrew Cardinale as production and as commentary as well. We hope you enjoyed all seasons long broadcasts, and we will see you next time. Have a great night.